everyone, welcome to Kill the Cast. My name is Jerry, and joining me, of course, is the ever-quotable Jay.
You know we ain't got no quotes for Horror Coliseum, especially when one of the movies has a silent antagonist, not protagonist. I got my terms mixed up.
Okay, well, you're just as professional as I am. And the Silent Hill biker himself, Kenneth.
Woo, yeah, I'm here. Awesome.
And joining us from the depths of mines and deep ones and other erotica is Brian M. Sammons. How you doing?
Hey everybody, I'm doing okay. How you all doing?
Can't complain here. I mean, I can, but no one gives a shit. Well, Jay does, but...
I do.
I know, Jay. That's why I say I included you, Jay. I made sure everyone knows that you actually care about my feelings.
Well, somebody has to. The universe is a cold, uncaring place.
Yeah, the universe is a cat.
Yeah, I don't think about
essentially.
Jerry's feelings anymore when I masturbate.
You won't even look me in the eyes when you jack off with me in the same room anymore. I was literally just at Kenneth's, and he wouldn't even look at me when he masturbated.
I hope you're wearing protective glasses.
I wear glasses. They're not protective, but fair enough. You know.
I don't have the urge to eat him in the eyes anymore.
Oh, that takes me back 15 years. Anyway. So, Brian and Sammons, for the people who don't know you, who haven't heard your podcasting ability, or have not read a book that you have been part of, why don't you give a rundown of who you are and what you do in this cold universe?
Okay, I am an author, an editor, a critic, and a game designer. Oh, and I guess a podcaster as well. I do lots of different things. I generally work in the horror field, although I sometimes dabble in sci-fi or fantasy, but my first and my largest love is horror. It's what I respond to the most. It's what makes up the vast majority of my movie and book library. I've been reviewing films and video games and books and God knows what else for over 20 years. I've written a number of short stories in the horror field, quite a few of them in what's known as the Lovecraft or Cthulhu mythos type horror universe. But also I do some straight non-mythos related horror as well. As far as editing goes, about 5 years ago, I started putting together anthologies for a number of publishers and found out I like doing that a lot. It's fun. I always equate it to like directing a movie. It takes a lot of people to make a movie, but the director's vision is the overall umbrella everybody else has to work under. And that's the same kind of thing when it comes to editing an anthology. I couldn't do it by myself. I need lots of people, but I'm the one with the vision, and I got to work with the authors to make sure they fit that vision. And then as far as game designer goes, I've done a number of RPG stuff. That's role-playing games for the uninitiated out there. Most of my stuff has been for the Call of Cthulhu game, once again showing my love for Lovecraft. But I've also dabbled in a few other games here or there, but by and large, I'm a Call of Cthulhu game nerd. Currently, I am the fiction editor for a small publishing house called Golden Goblin Press, and I'm just an editor for a slightly bigger publisher called Dark Regions Press. So I'm constantly busy doing stuff. As far as podcasting goes, well, I'm now reduced to just one show, and that is the ABCs of Hidden Horror, where we take a look at some of the lesser-known, more obscure horror films, or just films we think don't get talked about as much anymore, need more love, that kind of thing.
Yeah, your S episode had an asshole on it.
Well, yes.
Dave Z, fucking jerk.
Yeah. Sadly, sometimes people do sneak in under the wire and spout their nonsense, but most of the episodes are pretty damn good, I would say.
Yeah, no, they are. I'm a big fan. Anyone on their first episode is like, yo, here's Alligator from 1980. I'm in. I'm good.
Yeah.
You've won me over.
Well, that is thanks to my wife, Jamie Sammons, used to be Jenkins. She has a far more extensive podcasting career than I do. She's been doing this for years and years and years. And on ABCs, we each pick a movie that corresponds to a letter in the alphabet as we run through it. And that was her pick. So you have her to thank for that.
Very true. And I was just on there for the S episode, which was
Yes, you were.
a fun episode. Brian brought a movie I'd never even heard of called Supernatural from 1982?
That sounds about right.
Early 80s. Dave Z brought Splinter from the mid-2000s, I believe. I think that's right. And
Yeah.
Jamie brought From the South, also from the mid-2000s, or early 2000s, actually.
Early 2000s.
Yeah, The Skeleton Key, and I brought the Japanese classic Suicide Club.
Yeah, that was something I had never seen.
If you've never seen Suicide Club, there's only one thing I need to tell you. The movie begins with 54 schoolgirls jumping in front of a bus. If you don't want to see that after I say that, I don't know what to fucking do with you.
I'm hard.
Okay, y'all can just count me out from here on. I'm gonna go watch Suicide Club.
Oh, you remember that scene in Tag that we talked about, right?
That scene, I actually went, and that's the only part of that movie I've watched so
Yeah,
far, and
so-
it was fucking awesome.
Same director, and in Suicide Club, it's much more practical. So it's a lot of people just throwing buckets of blood on the fucking thing.
Woo! They have that typical Asian affliction where everybody has high-pressured water hoses for blood, for veins and arteries.
Yeah.
So blood just sprays out everywhere.
That's actually realistic. I cut off a dude's arm the other day. Same exact thing.
Yeah. Well,
Whoa, wait,
the
was he
more you
Asian?
know.
Hold on, was he Asian?
No.
Oh,
Can I have their arm?
all right.
No, I ate it and got his powers.
You got the
Good
power
for
of the
you.
arm. What, to jack off better?
Wendigo.
He can now write cursive.
Yes, I
there you
could. I
go.
can't. So that would be helpful.
Fuck cursive and smart people. Okay, so today we are getting into Horror Coliseum, Freddy vs. Jason, round 4. And that puts
Ding ding.
Friday the 13th, the final chapter, versus A Nightmare on Elm Street for the Dream Master. And of course, we are going to start off with Friday the 13th Part 4. And we are going to start off with Kenneth. Kenneth's story. Go right ahead.
Let me
Fuck
grab
you.
my scores.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck
Kenneth
you.
hates
Fuck
going
you.
first.
Oh,
Oh, yes.
I gave the story a 7.
7, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was an all right story. I mean, it picked up right where 3 left off. And, I gave it just a little bit more just because I like the way it was put together. But for the most part, it was kind of generic. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Jason, he's in the hospital and, he gets out of the hospital, goes back to Camp Crystal Lake and starts killing people. So, but I still gave it a 7 because it's one of my favorites in the series. So,
Okay, fair enough. We will move on to Jay. Jay, story.
Jay, story. 8. Because it was good. And there was things that happened. And the plot was well.
Yeah? You're on point today, Jay.
Yeah, I know. Look at that descriptiveness. No, I really liked it. I like the little side story of the dude trying to hunt down Jason. I liked all the characters. I liked and Tommy Jarvis is probably the best thing about Friday the 13th besides Jason. So this is the first movie he's in, and he's pretty badass.
I mean, I don't know. I kind of like the Doublemint twins, but whatever.
hey, since he brought up the thing about the dude coming, he said he was looking for his sister Sandra, right?
Yeah, from part 2.
From part 2. How much time period is there in between that one and this one?
2
2
days.
days.
Yeah, 2 days.
Between part 2 and part 4?
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense if you actually think about it, but
He has brotherly instinct. You know what I'm saying?
I
He
guess.
just knew. Yeah, that part doesn't really work, but I guess Especially because if she was supposed to be there all summer, so what? She missed a phone call, and he was like, "Nope, something's wrong. I'm going down there." But there is a chance he actually
his gun in his tent.
Oh, I've got the answer. At the beginning of part 3, they are actually showing news footage of the event. He actually could have found out from the television, and even though they probably wouldn't give him specific details, there is a good chance the police would have already made calls, and he could be going down there because he doesn't either. Maybe the police didn't give calls, but he saw the news story. He's like, I gotta get down there. Or the police did call, but he's like, I'm gonna find out more. I don't think she's really dead. I'm double checking on this. So I would say, depending on how far away he lived, if he can get there in a day, it's possible.
Okay.
Anyway, now that we've solved that unsolved mystery, Jay, do you have anything else for story?
No, that was it. I gave it an 8. It was good.
Brian, story.
Okay, I give this an 8. I like that it picks up immediately after the end of the third one. I mean, Jason's still lying in the barn with the axe in his head. I like that it takes its time for Jason to come back, and he comes back in style. I love the introduction of Tommy. He is a great character. If this would have been the final chapter as it was billed to be, I think he would have been a great way to end the series. I mean, a kid taking out this monster of a man, this unkillable machine of death that, he's fallen down and been taken out like 2 times before, but nothing stops him. To finally, Tommy does. I love the characters. Some of the Friday the 13th characters are hit and miss. But here, they all seem like decent people. Even Teddy, who's a bit of an ass with his whole, real quick. Can I say dead fuck?
You can say whatever the fuck you want here.
I thought so, but I always want to be sure.
We don't care.
With his whole, you're a dead fuck, and let me put it in the computer and all that, he seems like a bit of a jerk, but if you notice, at the end, he's actually happy for his friend who got laid. And he's like, hey, man, good job. And in a different movie, he would have been a butthurt bitch. Because he ended up having sex with the girl he wanted. And in another movie, he would have been all upset, like, oh, she was mine. And But here he's like, hey, good job. Look at you. So, I mean...
16 Candles meets Friday the 13th.
Yeah. So I love the characters. And honestly, while I love the series as a whole, and I like many a movie in the Friday the 13th series that followed this one, I really do wish this would have been the final chapter, because it ends on a high point. It is a full, complete thing, and it just ends so well that almost the other movies that come, it almost weakens that in retrospect. But in and of itself, it is a solid slasher flick.
Yeah.
In fact, laying my cards on the table, it is my favorite slasher flick of all time.
Too.
It's my favorite of the series.
Mine too.
Excellent. Now, also, full disclosure, this was my first horror movie ever.
Wow.
Yes. Until I saw this, I was actually a scared little pussy. The idea of watching horror movies scared me. Just like, if I watch them, I'll have a heart attack, or my head will explode, or I don't know what the hell would happen. So I actively avoided them. Until one night, I was put in a situation where I couldn't do that, so I just had to, grit my teeth and go, oh, God, here we go. And it was Friday the 13th Part 4, and I loved it. So, literally, honestly, this movie changed my life.
Well, at least I know you're not Catholic.
Yes.
Most Catholic kids who say statements similar to that, it doesn't change their life for the better.
Yeah. This one did. I mean, it developed a love of all things horror for me. I mean, the very next day, I started devouring horror movies. I would have my mother take me to the video store, and I would just rent them by the bucketful. me and my buddies, we would have video parties at, on the weekends. We'd all stay at someone's house. We'd rent 5 or 6 movies and just mainline them. And that all started here.
And no one overdosed.
No, you couldn't. I mean, I've come close, but I'm still a champ at it, I guess. My tolerance is high.
Fair enough. All right. So for me, for story, I give it a 9. This is how you attempt to do a new story in the franchise, to bring new elements to a very established formula. Last movie gave us this really, really weak attempt to make characters in the past have a run-in with Jason. It was terrible. This one did it by having a relative of a Jason victim out here looking for clues, and especially now even more that we figured out that he just saw the news report and came out there and solved that whole problem. Double thumbs up for me. It also still gave us our group of teens by replacing the camp counselors for, people there that are there for a weekend party. And they did that much better than part 3 did. Plus, on top of that, they gave us a family to latch onto that is going through a divorce. And yet they're still so very loving. You have like 3 separate worlds all coming together and happening at once. And doing it in a way that is not confusing. You pretty much have an easy time keeping up to beat with every single person. And so for that, to me, this is what 3 wanted to be and couldn't do it properly, and 4 just nailed it. And on top of that, much better flow with the movie before it. With going between part 2 and part 3, there's a lot of what the fuck, why did y'all make these choices? Like, why is he now bald? Blah, why is he no longer a fan of overalls? That kind of stuff. With this one, it's close enough that you don't even okay, Jason's still bald. Okay, he looks slightly different, a little bit more bubbly head, but it's still close enough. About the biggest difference is he now is goth and has black fingernails. That's cool. I'm not judging him, okay? He's allowed in Hot Topic like everyone else. So I give story a 9. To me, this has the strongest story out of the franchise. Obviously, it can't be a perfect 10 because, it's not going to blow your mind, like anal sex without a condom. It's just enough to make you go, oh, this is like a slasher perfection. So that's how I feel on that. We now move on to character development. Kenneth, what you got?
I gave it an 8. I thought all the characters were really, really good. I really like the way that they fleshed out Tommy Jarvis. Giving him the special effects background, and knowing how much of that character is based around Tom Savini. So I really enjoyed that. I think the rest of the characters, they did them very well. Each personality really matched the type of person that they were. Especially, I loved Crispin Glover in this. I thought he was great.
Crispin Glover's awesome.
I know it, man. And he's just like, to see him in this movie was awesome. And so I really enjoyed the characters. I really did. I thought everybody really, come together for the type for where they were supposed to be sitting in the story. I think everybody did really well. So, I gave it an 8. It wasn't perfect. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I think there could have been a few things that probably could have been, explored a little bit more. I think Tommy's sister, could have done with a little bit more screen time, in my personal opinion. Preferably nude.
Yeah,
I want to be part of a Jarvis sandwich.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. But yeah, so there's a couple of discrepancies that I got about it, but overall, I think the characters were done really well. So I give it an 8.
All right, Jay.
Pretty much the same thing, except I gave it a 7. I don't know. Sometimes I'm gonna start asking for everybody's scores before I make mine, just to see if what I'm saying makes sense.
Jay with the classic
we'll chit chat ahead of time.
I love fucking Tommy. I love Tommy so much.
Do you really?
Yes.
That's what works for you?
Yeah.
So you are Catholic.
Corey Feldman, man. But I love Tommy's character. I love Crispin Glover's character. I like the dude looking for his sister. Like Kenneth, I thought the sister could use a little bit more development. But for the most part, everybody worked for me. But yeah, I just gave it a 7 instead of an 8.
Okay, fair enough. Brian, character development.
Also a 7. I really do like these characters. When I think of slasher film and the slasher bait, it's these type of characters I think of. They're almost archetypal, but the one drawback is because there's quite a few of them. I mean, you got a whole house full of partying teens, and then you got a mom and a sister and a brother over here, and then like the first 20 minutes of the movie, maybe 15, you're in the hospital, so things move briskly, and you don't get a lot of time to really, know these characters. That being said, what time we do have, I like my time with them, and I like these characters. And I like Trish, the sister, comes off a little bit weak and mealy mouthed a bit in the beginning, but at the end, I mean, she is taking on Jason one-on-one and yelling, Tommy, get the hell out of here, and you were supposed to leave, and she's purposely leading the death machine away so her little brother can escape. He, on the other hand, because he knows, makeup and illusion and all that stuff, he's like, I got an idea. And he goes that extra mile, and he's the one who finishes the big bad. So, yeah, everybody here, I mean, there's some, like, I don't think the movie would miss much if the banana hitchhiker lady was gone, hey. But other than that, I like everyone in this movie, and I think they all fit a very needed role.
Fair enough. So for me, I want y'all to know I regret nothing. I gave it a 9. It checked every box. I was like, does the character play Zaxxon? Yes. Fucking check. Is there a doctor named Alex who tries to fuck next to dead bodies? Fucking check. Is there I'm sorry, Axel. Yeah, Axel. Sorry, okay, I was thinking of Alex Edwards and him and I making love next to a dead body in the hospital. Don't fucking judge me. Don't kink shame me, Kenneth. Okay.
Hey, I don't mind judging. I'm just telling you to get the name right. I mean, if you're going to be thinking about Alex Edwards, then you could have commented also where he posted that picture of him and Tiffany, and I said that I would buy the porno. Did you?
No, because I'm still waiting for the him and J-Lo porno. Thank you very much.
Either way, I'd still buy a porno with Alex in it.
With?
Alex, we're trying to get Alex Edwards to do porn.
Okay, well, I'll seduce him.
All right, fair enough. So anyway,
make it a "This is not Married with Children" type porn, and he'll definitely do it.
They do. They've only got 2 Married with Children porn parodies. We might need a third one.
Oh, he would cut off a nut to be Al Bundy.
That is 100% true. So back to character development. But yeah, I like all the characters in this movie. There is no annoying character that I just can't stand. Every character is likable. While we don't get big things that explain all of it, everything we get is golden. And the only reason I couldn't give it a 10 is because I wanted more Gordon. I felt like we could have used more scenes of Gordon being Gordon and doing Gordon-like shit. And the fact that they didn't do that.
How you doing, Gordon?
Yeah,
we'll talk later, Gordon.
Yeah. Where was the talk later scene? Why was that edited out?
Okay, here's a question. Gordon, does he jump out of the window or is he thrown out of the window?
So I asked this question to everyone I do an interview with show, and almost everybody says suicide. Everyone says Gordon jumps to his death.
I think
we don't see him dead.
Yeah, exactly. In my world, Gordon is still alive.
Yeah, he jumped out of that window and he took the fuck off and said, "Fuck all y'all, I'm done. I don't need a human."
Jason don't kill dogs. That's Michael Myers' thing.
Yeah, he was just like, "Screw this. I don't need a human. I'm good.
I don't need a human." Oh, fuck.
I can survive in the woods. If the Mongoloid can do it, the dog can do it.
Oh, fuck, that's good. So yeah, but I love all that. I really don't have anything negative to say about the characters, because even with the whole Trish thing, we don't get as much as her as we normally get of a final girl. But when I get to Hero, I'll kind of explain why I'm okay with that. But a 9, solid 9 for me.
I didn't think about it until you said it, but you're right. There's really not a character that annoys me in this movie.
No.
There's not one that I'm just like, I really want you to fucking die so I don't see you in the movie anymore.
Not a single one. There's just no one that I'm like, I can't wait for they to die. Can someone please just fucking get this guy over with?
Right. So, I mean, looking at it from that perspective, I probably would have bumped it up to a 9 if I'd have thought about that.
Yeah, I would have. I think in retrospect, I might have been a bit hard on this movie just because it is, so near and dear to me. I wanted to put on my serious critics hat and not look like a total fanboy.
I rated everything a 10, and then I just started going through and figuring out reasons to knock it down.
In retrospect, I would have raised this higher because there really is no bad character in this for me.
Right. So
one of my favorite parts about the horror Coliseums is every single time we have people going, "Oh man, I should have changed my score," and it literally is my favorite thing. Speaking of favorite things going through the moonlight, Kenneth. Pacing and editing.
I gave the pacing an 8 in this. I mean, there were very, very few times where I felt like, okay, it was dragging just a little bit. Like, right when you get into the Jarvis house and you've got Tommy sitting there playing the video game with the mask on, I thought that part just a little bit, drugged just a little bit. There were a couple of other spots where, and I can't think of them now specifically off the top of my head, but I know there were a couple of other spots where I think it was just a little bit, but not bad at all. So I gave it an 8. Other than that, I think it ran through pretty cool. I think the hospital scene at the beginning maybe ran a little bit too long. I think that could have been done, but then again, I got my own reservations about that whole scene. The kills look good, but other than that, I just got this whole thing about that, and maybe I can bring it up in another one later. But otherwise, so I gave it an 8. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it still ran pretty good. So,
okay, Jay.
I gave it an 8 as well. I felt it was like probably one of the best paced ones out of the 4 that we've watched so far. It starts off pretty quickly, like you get to You know what I don't like, though? I don't like the recaps at the beginning that every single Friday after the first one has had. I think those are pointless, but that's besides the point.
This had the smallest recap ever.
Also, the best, in my opinion.
Agreed.
It's fair, but I'd still
definitely
rather
a highlight.
No recap.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need it, but it was just in the time.
Once the movie actually starts, Jason kills, 3 people in pretty quick succession? That's the word. I can talk. Then we get some story and character development, and then he's just right back at it. And it's just, I think it's put together really well in the amount of time we get with character development and Jason killing people.
All right, Brian.
I also gave it an 8. I think it's really well done. I like the beginning part in the hospital. I think that is paced perfectly because you get a little bit of a stretch there to build up some suspense and tension because everybody knows Jason's coming back, but you don't know when or how. And then when he finally makes his big ta-da, it's very memorable with a great kill. I do agree, like around the introduction of the partying kids and some of the stuff with the family does go on a little bit long, but that is nothing compared to some of the long stretches of time many slashers, even some of the previous Friday 13th movies had, where just nothing happens, and then at the end you just get bam, 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 a bunch of kills. So here, the mayhem and the murder is paced out and spaced out better, so you never have a long lull to sit through.
That's the reason why I said only barely, just barely, does it drag to me.
Yeah, I agree too. I don't think it's perfect. Yeah, it could have been sped up a little bit, but it's nearly there. So that's why I gave it an 8.
Well, since you brought up the hospital thing at the beginning, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and go into it. That whole scene, even though the kills are great, the kills are awesome. But other than that whole thing, it just bothers me because I think about it and I'm like, okay, number one, I can see why Jason kills Axel. Axel's literally right fucking next to him. So when he comes out of the ice box, he's going to kill Axel. I don't understand why he specifically went into the other room just to kill this one chick and then doesn't kill anybody else in the damn hospital. And then the next thing I don't understand is how this big fucker with the damn hockey mask on just strolls right on out of a hospital and nobody else sees him.
It's the same kind of thing like in part 2, how the hell did he get from Camp Crystal Lake to the town of Crystal Lake, kill his target, and then disappear again? Jason can just do that.
Yeah, I mean, but and if you listen to our part 2, we talk about that and how that's one of the most fucking stupid scenes. The whole thing, it's just not needed. But I mean, it's just
Jamie has always
things.
had an idea for a short film of, Jason taking a bus, showing him getting on a bus with a picture, pointing at you. Have you seen this person? Because it makes no sense. But,
great.
I can forgive that.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, I was thinking about it when I was watching it. I was just like, he specifically goes into this other room to kill this chick and doesn't kill anybody else, and then just strolls right on out and nobody sees it. And I'm like,
see, what you don't know is that Jason Voorhees' dad was actually a Bigfoot. He has the same ability Bigfoots do to get around without being seen fully.
Makes sense.
That's how that happened.
Maybe. It could be instant transmission like in the boat in part 8.
Oh, yeah.
Also,
some Super Saiyan shit.
As far as why he went and killed her, it's the whole Jason hates sex, and she almost got it on. He got a whiff of that. It was right next to him. He smelt that. He smelt the juices flowing. And, most guys get hard when that happens. Jason has to kill somebody. That's how he gets off. So he wasn't going to walk out of that place with blue balls. He had to do what he had to do.
Yeah.
Typical sexual psychopath.
Yes.
Alternate theory, he has pride in his work. He touched her. Regardless if he touched her when he was kind of coming out of a doze, if he touches you, he has to kill you.
I grabbed your leg, bitch.
Yeah. Sorry.
I gotta cut you up to sternum with a knife.
Yeah. Them the rules. So for me, for pacing and editing, because I almost forgot where we were, I also gave it an 8. This movie takes its walk with leisure, but damn is it enjoyable. Even the parts that I think could be sped up are beautiful to look at. They are enjoyable to watch. I genuinely enjoy watching these people have fun. Now, there is one scene to me that keeps it from being a 10 that should have been cut down. I don't need to see her eat that banana that long. One bite was fine, okay? We didn't need the long things. I'm pretty sure Jason wasn't watching her eat the banana and was like, let me wait till she gets to a pleasant stopping point. That scene could have been fixed, and I probably would have bumped it up to a 9.
But again, you see it's phallic, which relates to sex, and Jason ain't having that.
Hey, man, I put that scene in the old spank bank more than once.
Swallow my banana.
Yeah. So I can't even eat a hot dog around Jason? Man, what the fuck?
No.
This Jason literally is like
donuts.
a fucking...
You can't do anything like that.
That's how you keep him away. He's a homophobe.
Oh,
okay. Know that.
I did not know that he was against gay people. I'm going to have to call Friday the 13th, the podcast, and inform them that they need to do an investigation in this.
It was the 80s. It was a different time.
Yeah, you could say things in Monster Squad. Okay, so now we move on to atmosphere. Kenneth.
I gave it a 7. I mean, there are moments that are really atmospheric that I thought were really good. Surprisingly enough, as much as I dislike, or well, not really dislike, but have a problem with the hospital scene, it was very, very fucking creepy. Like him just sitting there in the dark with just the light of the TV. That was good. I enjoyed that. When it's raining and everything outside, there's just something about that particular area around the lake that is more creepy to me than any of the rest of the movies when the storm is going on and stuff like that. I don't know what it is about that area. It may be just because I've been to places like that where, you've got 2 or 3 people or 2 or 3 sets of cabins where people live out by a lake and stuff like that. So I've been to places like that. So it may have resonated some way. But those parts were creepy. But for the most part, the rest of it, I was just kind of like, eh. So I gave it a 7 because there were moments, but overall, I was just like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, had there been a couple of more spots, it probably would have been a little more creepy to me. So I just kind of threw it right at the 7 mark.
All right, Jay.
I also gave it a 7, pretty much for the same reasons. Like he said, there's moments that it has that I really like, but it's not, it's not, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not perfect. But yeah, I've pretty much have nothing to add to what Kenneth said and echo his thoughts exactly.
Okay,
Appreciate
Brian.
that, Jay.
No, go fuck yourself, Kenneth. Brian.
Okay, I will go one higher with another 8. To me, it's very effective. I love the hospital scene. I enjoy all the wooded scenes, but I really like once the rain comes in. I enjoy the 2 kills at the lake at night. I mean, it's not raining then, but just the fact that it looks peaceful and but it's not. As soon as she starts taking off her clothes to go out to the little rubber boat, it's coming.
I know I was coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Without the rubber.
I
use a rubber for easy cleanup.
Yeah. It's a little thing, but at the very end, during the final chase, when Trisha's running from Jason and it's raining, and it's a downward shot, and she's running away, and then you see him just striding out after her. I don't know, something about that I just really love. It's like, here I come, bitch. And I don't know, it works for me. So, yeah, give it an 8.
Nice. I'm at a 7. This is one where I don't notice the atmosphere as much. I don't notice it in the sense that it doesn't take me out of it, so it's good atmosphere. I'm not sitting there going, okay, this is taking me completely out of the movie, which is a problem I had with Nightmare 3. It's just to me, this movie does this atmosphere a bit more subtle, a bit more basic, but it still completely gets the job done. So I'm going to be with Kenneth and Jay on a classic hand job for that one. Woo! Next, we move on to scenery and set design. Kenneth.
I give it a 9. I thought the scenery, I mean, like I said, there's just something about this one that, like when they're going down the road to the lake and stuff like that, when the car breaks down, and they're standing out there, there's just something about this set of woods that they chose for, the sets of this that were really, 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 really well chosen. It just, I don't know. It seems more of a, when you're just like, I'm trying the best way to describe it. It's better, to me, it's better than the summer camp vibe where you got a whole bunch of kids running around or that type of thing or something like that. No, this seems more homey. You know what I'm saying? This seems more family-oriented type of an area where you got these people living out in the woods. And to me, the choices that were made for both houses and the lake location just worked fantastic for that. So I think the set design was awesome. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it wasn't quite a perfect 10, but it was damn close.
All right, Jay?
I gave it a 7. I thought it was really good, but I didn't think it as highly of it as Kenneth did. Everything looked fine, but it's also the same wooded area that we've been getting for 3 movies now, minus the fact that it's not at a camp, quote unquote, anymore. But I was just besides the hospital, I really liked the hospital. And the designs of the houses were great, but I just didn't think it was anything that really stood out. But it wasn't also terrible, so that's why I gave it a 7.
Yeah, it's weird that they keep going back to the woods. It's like if they kept going back to Nancy's house in Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
Hey, wait till we get to those scores, because it's actually a lot lower.
Oh, that's all right. I have a huge thing about Nancy's house I need to get out during that, so don't let me forget. Brian, scenery set design.
I will also give it a 7. Everything looks authentic. Everything looks really well done and well set as far as it looks like a house that a family would live in. And the other one looks like a house that some teenagers would party in. And everything seems real, but nothing really stands out for me as far as just, wow, that's beautiful, or that's, a great shot, or anything like that. So it's all very well done, and it's very realistic, but it just doesn't wow me.
Okay. So for me, I gave it an 8 because everything does look great. Everything looks phenomenal. But the thing that makes me give it an 8 is how they shoot the woods. The cinematography of whenever there's a shot of the forest always sucks me in. It always looks so good. I want to go hang out there. I want to be there. Me and Gordon hanging out, having a picnic, so what I want with my life. I'm not going to have that because Gordon possibly died.
No, he didn't.
I said possibly.
No, he's alive.
There's room. There's room to breathe. Except for him, because he died.
No, he didn't.
All right, we move on.
Hang on.
Okay.
All right, and if none of y'all have experienced this, then I understand. But there's another scene, and it's the scene right before we assume that the Jarvis mom gets it. And it's when she walks outside and goes around the house, you know what I'm saying? And it's raining. And then she looks up and she gets that bright look in her eyes, and, we don't see her die on camera. Okay. Have y'all ever, when you go out to a neighborhood, or you go to something like that, or you go to somebody's house, or for whatever reason, and you're looking at the front of the house is always all picturesque and things like that, and you got your bushes and you got all the rest of that stuff. But then if you're outside walking around and you go around the side of the house, it automatically, that picturesqueness goes away and it looks strange for a couple of minutes until you get used to the fact that you're around the side of the house.
Everybody wants to put their best face forward, so everybody really focuses on the front of the house because that's what everyone sees.
Right.
People don't care about the sides or the back even.
Well, I don't mean looking bad. I just mean not looking alive.
Yeah, I get you.
Okay. That's what I got from that scene, and that's the reason why I really enjoyed the scenery, because generally when you're watching these movies, any of them, you don't see that. You always get the picturesque look of the front or the back or whatever, but you never get around the sides and things like that. And so to me, that one scene gave a level of realism to the way it looked, to where it changed even then the way the set design looked for me. If that makes sense.
Damn, that's some deep shit on a house, Kenneth.
I don't know why it does it. Every time I watch it, it does that to me. And none of the other ones do it. It's just that. And just that scene. But it always makes me think about what it was like when I was a kid and hanging out at my grandmother's house or something like that. And then I walk around to the side of the house, and the difference between how the front of the house looks and the side of the house looks, and it becomes almost like a completely different planet.
Yeah, like you're going through this tunnel where everything's just changed, and you're like, I don't know what happened.
Right.
I know what you're talking about.
And that's what that scene did for me.
Well, damn. Okay, well, Kenneth, we move on to acting, so what deep shit you got for that?
I gave it a 9 also. I thought everybody did a great job. I was not... There was very, very few places in this movie where I felt like, oh my God, that is just shitty. There were if any at all. I think probably the person with the weakest acting, the two people with the weakest acting, was probably Trish, and only in a couple of spots, and Rob. Everybody else I thought did great, because the dude did what's the guy's name? The dude with the computer, quote unquote.
Teddy.
Teddy. All right. When Teddy Bear gets killed, I know for a fact that when he gets killed, after watching everything that I've done, he was really stoned when he did that scene.
Yeah, and he regretted it.
Yeah, he regretted it, but I don't see why he regretted it, because I think he did a really good job. And so in that scene, I think it was done well. I think the acting for the guy that got killed in the shower, I think he did great. You know what I'm saying? Especially in that spot. And so overall, I thought the acting was actually pretty goddamn good for a slasher movie.
I'm with you there. Jay, are you with him?
I gave it an 8. Pretty much same thing. I didn't see a problem with really anybody. I thought young Corey Feldman did fantastic as Tommy. I think everybody hit their marks. I didn't really have any moments of while watching the movie or listening to anybody deliver their lines. The only thing that was a little weird for me was when they had Jason grunt at the end when he was fighting. It's like, that's new and odd, but okay. Besides that, I thought everyone did a solid job.
Well, you should see the deleted scene where Jason shows you his O face.
Got a tongue hanging out.
Oh, this machete in my head. Oh, yeah.
Oh. All right. Brian, acting.
I give it an 8. I like what everybody else has said. I like everyone in here, and I think they all do a good, believable job. I really like Corey as Tommy, especially it's a little thing, but I love the scene where he's peeping in on his neighbor across the way.
Yeah.
And he's freaking out and bouncing on the bed, and because, that's his first naked woman probably. So he's like, oh my God, this is great.
Titties.
Yeah. And, confession, as a kid, I was just like that. I had a neighbor lady across the way who liked to change and not shut her windows. So, yeah, when that would happen, I'd be like, oh my God. It was like Christmas and a birthday and everything else all rolled up in one.
Damn, I wish I hung out in your neighborhood.
What's that?
I said, I wish I grew up in your neighborhood.
It was pretty good. And then when his mom comes in, he is instantly out. Like, bam! And she even knows. I mean, she looks at him and gives it that smirk. And so it's little things like that that just, make this movie stand out for me.
Okay, I agree with you. We know it's a scientific fact that if Kenneth and I rate something the same, it's 100% true. You can ask Neil deGrasse Tyson; he'll tell you.
It's true. It's part of the cosmic universe.
Yeah, and I gave it a 9. Also, it's some of the best acting in the franchise. And to me, I don't have any times where I think it's super bad acting, ever. Like, this movie is just so well acted that, and I've said this before, where if you have someone who's so good in the movie, they blow you away and you're just like, holy shit, that acting is phenomenal. Sometimes I don't like that because it takes me out of the movie because I'm sitting there going, holy shit, this dude he is just killing it. And it takes me, and then I realize I'm watching a movie and then I've got to get back into it. And this movie walks that line perfectly where no one blows me away, so much so that I'm like, God damn, that acting is phenomenal. And no one's even close to being bad for me to have it the opposite way. And so, because of that, I don't have a single actor I could point out as being just absolutely the best, so I can't give it a 10. But for acting, everyone else did solid. Jason did great. Mr. Ted White, fantastic. I gave it a 9 easy. And now we go into 2 of the ones that I'm actually most interested to see how everyone feels. Special effects, Kenneth.
Gave it a 9.
Okay.
I thought the special effects were great. One of my favorite kills for the special effects is when he twisted Axel's head around.
Yep. Oh, I love that.
That was awesome.
I had actually forgotten about that, and so as I'm like sitting in bed waiting, having the movie start, waiting for Jason to do his thing, and that's like the first kill we get. I was like, holy shit, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, that was fucking brutal. That
was nice to see.
Yeah, that one looked really good. But the special effects at the end of it, man, where the machete in his head and him sliding down on it and everything. I mean, dude, that was great. I mean, especially for when it came out, man. And seeing that kind of thing, I mean, it was just like, wow. I mean, that was awesome. A lot of the, just some of the way the other kills were done was great. Dude's head getting crushed in the bathtub. That was fucking awesome. Every time I think about that, I'm just like, oh, God, that sucks. So, yeah, man, I mean...
I would have liked it if an eye would have popped out at me, but whatever.
Oh, fuck that, man. God damn it. We don't need no more eyes popping out. But, yeah, I mean, that was really, really good. And, the special effects for the special effects, the things that were in Tommy's room, those look great. You know what I'm saying? It was really, really cool, especially now knowing, but I kind of had an idea back then, but now knowing that that was stuff out of, Tom Savini's personal collection of shit, I thought that was really, really cool. So, overall, I gave special effects a 9. I thought they were awesome.
All right, Jay.
Special effects, I gave an 8. I already talked about the head twist with Kenneth there. That was fucking fantastic. I really liked pretty much all the effects in the movie. It wasn't perfect, and it wasn't like mind-blowing, but there was absolutely nothing wrong with them, so that's kind of why I gave it an 8.
All right, Brian.
I'm
sorry,
Okay,
Kenneth,
I am in.
Kenneth, what was that?
Nothing. I didn't say anything. Brian.
Oh, okay.
I am amending my score.
You can't.
Originally,
You're not allowed
too late.
to.
I am.
You can't. It affects your bottom thing. You have to keep it where it is.
Well, I already changed my bottom one too, so suck it.
Doesn't matter. I have your scores, so you can't.
Well, I am.
You can't.
Life's
No,
hard.
we don't
Those are the
allow
rules of
anyone to do
horror
it.
Coliseum.
That was a
You
rule
can't.
that we made, man. You got to stick.
You are
You got
not
to stick
Caesar.
with your original
Because
scores.
even if you got that, you kind of understood what the category was wrong. We had that happen with Alex. You have to stick with it because it's
Okay.
a learning opportunity.
But then you can do like I said earlier, where you're just like, I wish I could amend it, or if I want it,
Yes.
or I would change it if I could to this, and you can state your position, but the original score has to stay the
Yeah,
same.
our audience
then-
won't kill you.
Well, then, in this case, my original score was a 5, just because I wasn't equating the special effects with the kills. Since you have a kills category, I rated them in and of themselves. So I was trying to think what special effects are in here, and I thought of Tommy and his masks, and I like that. But yeah, I was thinking more along that line as opposed to
Understandable. I guess we look at the kills as in movie, like if it were real, or is the way he's killing him inventive? Is it new? That kind of stuff. But the special effects, like how it was actually done, does it look real, is separate.
Okay.
Though
Well,
I am actually working on a redo of all the categories that might come out after all the horror Coliseums Freddy vs. Jason goes, and those two are one of the ones I've selected to probably go together.
Okay. Well, in that case, like I said, I gave it a 5 because I thought it was average for what I was thinking of. It didn't wow me, but it didn't disappoint me either. In retrospect, it would have been much higher.
Okay, well, we'll know that when he talks about the kills and gore, he'll definitely explain what special effects should have been for him.
Yeah, there we go.
What is your raised up special effects score?
It would have been a 9.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so for special effects for me, I gave it an 8. It's all solid. They kind of open up with a great one and then end it with a great one. Axel's death is absolutely fabulous. I actually like the front look of the bone saw better than the twist of the head, but they're both great. And then they end it with the machete slide. And then the rest of the special effects in the movies are all just kind of basic. They really save the two hardest jobs for those 2 kills, and the rest are all kind of like standard Friday the 13th special effects, throat slits, stabs, stuff like face machetes to face, even though apparently that's not a machete he hit him with, because they're saying Jason didn't use a machete in this movie. So I want to know
cleaver.
It was a cleaver.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Crispin
No,
Glover turned
it's
the
the
cleaver to the
machete
face.
that the guy hunting Jason had.
Yes.
Yeah, but Jason himself never kills anyone in the movie with a machete.
Correct.
He dies by machete.
Yep.
Right.
But I just never had a clue what besides a machete can you use to kill Glover. I mean, you can't kill him. It's fucking physically impossible. It's science. But it turns out weakness, meat cleaver.
I really enjoyed the corky screw.
And corkscrew, yes.
That's
Corky Screw just slowed him down.
I
He would have
really
been out of
enjoyed
that.
I really enjoyed the corkscrew.
He would have danced out of that corkscrew. So yeah, and I find this a lot with Tom Savini. Tom Savini, one of the reasons he is a master of special effects is because all the stuff that's standard, he can just knock out of the park. He can make it look amazing. He doesn't have to blow you away with everything he does. He can just make it bam, perfect, done, bam, perfect, done. And then a couple times in the movie, he'll do something crazy. And in this movie, you've got Axel's kill and Jason's kill, which both are just absolutely fantastic. Okay, so we move on to kills/gore. Kenneth.
I gave the kills an 8. You know what I'm saying? Because some of them were really inventive, but at the same time, some of them were not that really inventive. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the girl with the towel. You know what I'm saying? Where she just took an axe to the front. I was just like, eh.
Yeah.
You know, I really wasn't blown away by that.
But the marksmanship of Jason, though, right?
I suppose, but yeah, that one I just really wasn't blown away by. You know, the chick in the boat, even though it looked good, it did look good. So for special effects, it looked great, but it was basically just a rehash of the arrow through the throat from the first one. You know, it's pretty much the same thing, and just coming through the back instead of through the front. You know, so I mean, kills wise, but it did get an 8 because I really enjoyed the dude getting his head crushed in the shower. That one was just awesome to me. I mean, just thinking about that, like I said when I was talking about the special effects, that's just fucking ugh.
It's my favorite kill in the movie.
Is it?
Yep.
Yeah,
Always
man.
love that.
Yeah, because that's just fucked up. You know, especially like right before it, where he's basically crushing the dude's face with his thumb on his nose and shit, and then pushes it back. I was just like, oh my God, that's just fucked up. But, you know, but then again, on the same token, like the kill where fucking Jason's just hacking at fucking Rob with the damn, the little 3-prong fucking gardening fork or whatever it was. You know, I was just kind of like, and I could have swore, y'all can correct me if in this, but I could have swore that Rob screamed out, he's killing me.
He did.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my, really?
So I read an explanation for this. The director said one time he saw something where a guy was getting, something was happening to him. I can't remember what it is. So we'll say Gordon bit him and he was like, the dog's biting me. The dog's biting me. And it made it creepy. The guy telling you what's happening to him. And so he thought...
Go ahead. Sorry.
So he thought that would work the same in the movie. It would be creepy. It would be, you know, him screaming out, you know, his last thing. But unfortunately, it was more Troll 2-like in, you know, stating, they're eating him. Then they're going to eat me. It came off more like that.
Yeah, I just didn't like it. And so that's
a lot of
reason,
people have that problem. Sorry, go ahead.
That's the reason why I kind of brought it back a little bit from like a 9 or a 10, is because even though I like the kills, there was a couple of them where I was like, So.
Brian?
Okay, a lot of people have that problem with that scene. I, however, love that scene. And here's why. I heard that story, now the way I heard it, like a campfire story, I guess, was this was a 911 call. And this is what the dispatcher heard as some woman was getting stabbed to shit by her boyfriend or her husband or whatever. She was like, he's stabbing me, he's stabbing me. And a lot of people laugh at that, like, why would you just go, oh, he's killing me, he's killing me. But if you have somebody like Jason stabbing the shit out of you with a little tiny garden rake, I mean, the tines on that are only like about an inch long. So you know Jason had to go to town on him to kill him. That was not an easy death. That was not a quick death. And people, when they're getting murdered, say stupid shit. And I've always liked that. He's stabbing, or he's killing me, I guess. He's killing me, he's killing me. Because that's the kind of nonsense that would go through your head. In another movie, he would have been Joe Badass, like, come on, that ain't nothing, grrr. Or he would have been the heroic, run, run.
And I think you could still take it as a warning to Trish.
Well, yeah.
Like, hey, he's killing me, in case you can't tell, either, you know, help me or run. Whatever you want to choose.
For me, I like it because it's pure panic. It is one of the most authentic kills in the entire series. Because this guy, he's a big, tough guy. He has a gun. He hikes in the woods. He's hunting Jason. Yet when
Kenneth.
Jason gets a hold of him, he becomes a scared, just, oh my God, he's killing me. Out of everybody who dies in that movie, that would have to be like the worst death. Because you
that death is disrespectful. How are you going to kill, you're Jason and you're going to kill me with a gardening claw? Homie, come on,
I love
man.
that.
I know,
yeah,
it's
fucking brutal and awesome. So.
It's brutal,
Yes.
but the disrespect, like, you're not, you get a garden claw. That's what you get.
So original,
little bitch.
And just the fact that he would have to just go to town on him for it to work. Just, I mean, whack, 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 whack. And all the time, you're pushed up against a wall, and this guy is just ripping you apart, inch by inch. I think that's awesome.
Fair enough. I think that's a good explanation. Jay, kills and gore.
I gave the kills and gore an 8 out of 10. Basically everything we've talked about for the last 10 minutes is the reason why. I thought they were varied enough and innovative enough in this one. And it also feels kind of like the solidification of the Jason that we get for the rest of the series. So like Pamela Voorhees killed most of her people with that knife. Then in part 2 we got some variation, but a lot of it was pretty standard. Part 3 they kicked it up a notch and we got even more variation. But now we've got Jason just using whatever the fuck is around, his own bare hands when he twists that dude's head around, the corkscrew, the garden shovel rake thing. This is the Jason that we get for the rest of the series that just takes whatever's around and turns it into a weapon of death.
That's very true. Brian.
Here we go. I give it a 10 out of 10. These kills are amazing. They are the most memorable to me out of the entire series. It starts off with the great throat slit, and then, if that wasn't enough, the whole head twist behind you. Then you get the relatively simple kill of the nurse, except she is pinned to the wall, lifted up by one arm, stabbed in the chest, and the knife is drug all the way down.
Yeah, that wasn't no Michael Myers just get stuck to the wall bullshit.
No. And just, I love the sound design in that. It's like, rip. And not very bloody, but you don't need blood. So, I mean, in pure gore factor, some of the kills could have been more bloody, but I don't think they need that because they are just so aggressive and just brutal. Not tripping into the old, cliche of torture porn or, whatever. Jason, he ain't out to pull your fingernails out or stuff, bamboo in your nutsack or anything like that. But he will kill you, and he doesn't care if it's a quick kill or a leisurely kill. He is brutal and he's going to rip you apart. And that is never more apparent than this film. I love the head crush, like I said. I like the chick who gets the axe through the door. Because Jason throws an axe with enough force to go through the door, and he hits his target. That's awesome.
It is. I fucking love that kill.
Yeah, because, it's so out of nowhere. Just whack! And then she falls back, and there's an axe out of her chest. That is some serious lumberjack shit right there. Like I said, I love the whole he's killing me. Just with the fact that he's killing him with a little tiny garden rake. God, the guy who goes swimming out. Okay, the chick in the rubber boat, yeah, that's okay. But the boyfriend who goes out after her, once he goes swimming back, he gets stabbed in the nuts with a spear gun.
Yeah, that one was pretty good.
Then Jason lifts him up in the air, and only then does he pull the trigger. That is gnarly. So not only is he stabbed in the nuts, picked up, then the trigger's pulled, thereby shooting the spear deeper into his body. That is a hell of a way to go. And just all along, this is like the greatest hits for me. There's only one kill, well, maybe two, in all the Jason movies that I think are as good, if not somewhat better. And that's, of course, yes, the sleeping bag, or the whole Freddy vs. Jason, guy gets folded up in the bed. Those two are awesome. But here, and Crispin Glover with the whole corkscrew, and then here, have a meat cleaver. His buddy who gets a butcher knife in the back of the head. You just don't ever see that. And then he goes sliding down the projection screen, leaving a trail of blood.
And what I thought, me, that is one of the most effective kills in the movie for me, to just be so minimal, but it's really impactful.
Well, I love how the actor sells it. Once he gets thunked in the head, he's all, as he goes sliding down.
What I thought was really cool about that, I'm sorry to interrupt, is you can see the screen getting cut because the knife is in the back of the head. I thought that one was great.
Awesome. And then, of course, the piece de resistance is Jason's kill. The whole machete in the head, sliding down it. Best way to kill a slasher villain ever. It's never been touched. Nobody's ever come close. And I don't think they can. The fact that they were able to pull that off in 1984 still blows me the hell away.
Agreed. I don't have that much to add. I gave it an 8. Friday the 13th gets inventive with its kills a little bit later on in the series. Here, a lot of them do really go back to the kind of same old, because it's more realistic to the living Jason as he grabs whatever is around and uses it. But I want to point out a kill that no one's talked about, that I absolutely adore, and I think gets thrown away because it is off screen. Now, it is off screen. One of the Double Mint twins, she gets killed off screen. But the thing I like about that kill is you see it because lightning flashes and you see her get stabbed. And it's so small, it's so subtle. But if you know me, you know I love Universal Classics, and I have an affinity for shadow shots, where they can't show you what they're doing, so they're going to show you the shadows of it on the wall. I love that. I absolutely adore that. It's one of my favorite off-screen kills in a movie ever. And for me, that's one that I don't feel gets that much talked about. Hell, the other sister, the slutty one, her kill doesn't even get talked about that much because she just gets Gordon through a window, except we see her fall on a fucking car. And that's a fucking impressive shot. Her bouncing off that car, holy shit. That is a great one. But there's not too many kills that just make me go, jump up, cover my mouth, and go, holy shit. But it's fine. They're all 8. I think anyone rating this between an 8 to a 10 is absolutely right. Anyone rating this under an 8, well, we're going to kind of probably put you in a fucking sleeping bag and hit you to a tree a few times. Because you're wrong. And we don't allow wrong. So now we move on to
I just want to, before we move on, I just want to piggyback off of you talking about the kill where she gets thrown out the window and onto the car. This movie has actually some phenomenal physical stunt work. That kill right there, and then I think it's his sister who falls out. She jumps out of the window, rolls onto the deck, and then lands on the ground in slow motion. So you can actually see the stunt person going through the sugar glass, or whatever the fuck it's called, physically landing and rolling through the breakaway wood. And then if you look close enough, you can actually see the pad that's under all the dirt there. But that was it. She actually did that. And that was phenomenal. It was done really well to have that much control to fall that way. I was just very impressed with that.
Hell yeah. All right. Kenneth. We are... We're at Monster Killer. That's right. I got thrown off. I'm not good at this. Kenneth.
I gave it a 9.
9?
I think this was a great Jason. You know, the way he moved, the way he was portrayed, I liked it. I didn't mind the running at all. You know, because a lot of people say they don't like running Jason. Well, I actually like this one.
I hate that. I hate that bullshit.
Really?
Yeah, the whole.
Wait, you hate running Jason? You hate people that hate running Jason?
I hate people who say, Jason don't run. Yes, he does.
He runs when he's living.
Well, yeah.
And so I like the Jason. Him coming through the door, all fucking pissed off and shit. That was awesome. You know, I think overall, I thought the special effects to make him underneath the mask look really good. I mean, overall, I think it was a really, really good Jason. I mean, you know, anybody that disagrees, I'm just kind of like, well, whatever. Because, I mean, this was a very well done Jason. And was it Ted White?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he did a really, really good job. And I also like the fact that in all the documentaries and stuff like that, he specifically kept himself away from everybody. So that way he could be even more menacing, which I thought was cool. And so overall, I think it was a really good Jason.
I agree. Jay.
9 out of 10. Would have been a 10, but I just don't like the grunting. I have no problem with him running. That actually makes sense from a logistics standpoint. But he's been silent this entire time, and then they have him like grunt at the end. I don't like that. It threw me off a little bit. Besides that, he's great. His presence is great. The way he moves is great. He looks like really menacing, and like he'd fuck your shit up if you got near him. So other than the grunting, which was probably a directorial choice and not so much an actor choice, I really enjoyed the actor who portrayed Jason. I thought this Jason was fantastic. And like I said in the kills, this performance kind of solidifies the Jason we get for the next movies.
All right, Ryan.
Another 10 out of 10. This is by far and hands down my favorite performance, my favorite depiction of Jason. All the ones previous, all the zombie Jasons that would follow, nothing compares to Ted White in this role. He is huge, he is hulking, and he's menacing. And you really get a sense of just rage. The last Jason from part 3, you almost get like, he was very like, well, this is my job. Especially there's a scene where after he shoots the girl with the spear gun and he throws it away and he nonchalantly walks. I don't like that. Some people do because, oh, look how cold and uncaring he is. I like this Jason where he is just angry. Everything he does is with maximum violence, maximum anger. And I like the grunting and the growling. And just it makes him more real. I love the running. I love the fact that he climbs up and chucks the girl out of the second story window. I love his stealth capabilities. He can get you anytime, anywhere. He is a lethal predator. There is no Jason more scary, more terrifying, and more deadly. That includes all the zombie Jasons who are just unkillable. But this Jason is just, he's out to get you, and he is going to get you. That's why the end where he is ultimately defeated by a little kid is so great, because it's the whole David and Goliath thing. You know, this guy is just, he's death incarnate, and yet this kid can trick him and ends up being his destruction. But for all the kills and all the fury, I really get the feeling that this Jason, he will kill you. He wants to kill you. There's no stopping him, and he's unbound. So yeah, best Jason ever.
And I actually agree with you. I try not to give 10s as much as possible unless I'm full-heartedly like, there's no budging on this. Like, I've tried the arguments. I can't find one against it that works.
Are you one of those people who are like, oh, nothing ever is perfect, nothing ever gets a 10?
No, I'm one of those people that, like, if your argument is good enough, then I'll detract the point. If, like, we proved that with Nightmare on Elm Street on this show, we're very much, if you can argue your point well enough, then I will concede and I will give it to you. If I feel like you've argued it well enough to make me a believer. I believe there is no thing as being absolutely wrong or right when it comes to the matter of opinion. There is always room to sway. Always. And if you don't think there is, then you're basically a fanboy and I'm not going to talk to you.
Some people out there are like, oh, well, you know, I'm a serious critic and, you know, nothing can be perfect. But that's bullshit. I'm not talking about perfection. I'm talking about the zenith. There has to be one on top. And for me, this is it. It is the best Friday the 13th. It is the best Jason. It is the best slasher. So why would it not be a 10 out of 10?
And I think the reason, like, those people that are like, oh, I'm a professional critic, we give nothing 10 out of 10, is because they don't want they don't want anything to touch Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
That's number one, first and foremost. Nothing can touch Citizen Kane.
That movie's boring.
All right, look here, Rosebud. But I think those people also try way too hard to be unbiased and unopinionated, and they tend to actually be the most biased and most opinionated.
Agreed. 100%.
And that's what I try. Like, yes, I will sit here and say, this Jason, the Ted White Jason, is a 10 out of 10 for me. It is the perfect Jason. I think it's the best representation of Jason, of the living Jason, because I do separate Jason into two different categories, living and unliving. But overall, this is still my favorite Jason. He is great in everything he does. He comes with that anger. I have it in my notes of how menacing he is. I like the grunt. I think he should have been at least grunting from fucking part 2, because I don't think he just doesn't have vocal cords. He's not fucking Rob Lowe because Rob Lowe screams in The Stand. Never mind, that doesn't make any sense. But he has fucking vocal cords. He can still use them. He just doesn't know how to talk. He doesn't know how to fucking speak. He never learned English. He can still grunt, and he should have been grunting through these movies. Dude, Sackhead Jason grunting would be fucking terrifying.
But they didn't, and that's why I have the issues, because it was never done before. So why is he all of a sudden doing it now?
Okay, if we're a Nightmare on Elm Street fanboy is really going to come at me with that?
I don't see what my opinion of one movie has to do with the other.
I mean, just in general, Nightmare on Elm Street, like, constantly does shit that they could not do or would not do in previous movies, and just constantly does it.
But I agree with that. I've admitted that on this very show.
So because they've done it early on in Nightmare, it's easier to accept. As for Friday, it's not, because they have it's harder to accept that because they waited till the 4th movie to do that. I will say I understand that.
Okay.
That I will. Okay, I understand that. I also just wanted to talk shit on Nightmare.
Actually, if I remember correctly, Jason does grunt and groan somewhat in part 3 once he gets the axe in the head, doesn't he?
You know, I would have a better opinion of that, but I just fucking hate that movie. So I really don't like that. That is like one of my least, like, besides 9, like, because 9 is to me a fucking travesty to this entire world.
So Jason
bad.
Goes to Hell.
Jason Goes to Hell.
Bad.
Yeah.
I want to believe in Christianity just so I can be like, you literally made Jesus weep when you made this fucking movie. But back on topic. I just pretty much say everything Brian said, except a little bit sexier, maybe.
Makes sense.
Jason is just fucking great in this goddamn movie. I do not have a negative thing I can say about Jason in this movie. I don't. Ted White did a fantastic job, and this is when I think of Friday the 13th. Not only is this the movie I think of, but this is specifically the Jason I think of.
Amen. Preacher, brother.
Yeah. Now we move on to Hero, which I think will be Hero is always an interesting category on this show.
I'm ready for this one.
So we'll see how this one goes. Kenneth.
I gave the Hero a 10.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
Sexy.
I thought Tommy Jarvis was a great character. That's who I think the hero is, obviously, at the end of it. I mean, he's the one that really takes out Jason. And, throughout the whole movie, I mean, he shows, he's the one that comes up with the idea of looking like Jason to get his attention. I mean, he's the one that, throughout the entirety of the movie, he's brave and him and his sister definitely share a lot of traits, but overall, I mean, to see this kid, and how old is he? Do we ever find out exactly how old he is? 10 or 11, something like that. To be a 10 or 11-year-old going up against this, just huge in comparison, menacing thing to save himself and to save his sister. I mean, it was just amazing. And I think Corey Feldman did a great job playing the character. He definitely went through a lot of hell looking the way he did at the end of it. I mean, we all know the stories of that. So overall, I mean, I think I mean, it was a 10 out of 10. It was fucking fantastic. It's probably, to me, Tommy Jarvis is the best hero in the entire series. And it shows because he's a reoccurring character.
That is true. Jay.
I gave it a 10 out of 10 as well, and I did mark Tommy as the hero. So we kind of get like 3 different heroes in this. We get the dude who's trying to hunt Jason, who's like the typical dude.
Yeah, not Rob Lowe Rob.
Yeah. We get his sister, who also like is trying to save her little brother in spite of this giant hulking madman chasing them after. But Tommy is on a whole nother level to use his skills and be brave enough to confront this dude and then actually kill him. Like, he's dead. This is the first time in 4 movies that Jason has actually been truthfully defeated. He gets buried. And had this movie not made the amount of money it did, it probably would have been the last time we ever saw Jason again. But I've always been impressed with how Tommy handles the situation. And then we get 2 more movies where he is also a hero-like character. And I love it. I love Tommy. I love that this is the first in his little trilogy. And him actually just fight, and then he does the thing that nobody ever does in horror movies, is he goes back, he's like, wait, he's not dead yet, and then just takes the machete to him head several times to make sure that is dead. Great. And I love it. So I gave the hero, in my mind, Tommy, 10 out of 10.
Nice. All right, Brian, hero.
Another one in retrospect I probably should have went a little bit higher on, but after giving the last 2 10 out of 10s. I figured if I did it 3 times in a row, you'd just be calling bullshit on me. So I gave it an 8 because I combined both Tommy and his sister as the hero. Because I think they both do a good job at, each defeating Jason, or at the very least, in regards to his sister, luring Jason away, confronting him. And like I said, I like the whole thing where she is willing to sacrifice herself in order to save Tommy, but Tommy ain't having none of it. He's like, nope, I got this, don't worry, sis. And he's out there shaving his head and looking like Billy Corrigan. So, but yeah, I probably should have been higher, but I'm happy with an 8. The combination of Tommy and Trish, and let's face it, Tommy is the real hero, but whatever. They both do their fair share of defeating Jason. I love the TV set through the head thing. That is just awesome. Anyways, 8.
All right, introducing the Slasher Hero Tag Team Champions of the world. We've got Tommy and Trish, aka TNT, coming at you tonight. All right, you are looking at the People's Champions. These are the people you are rooting for. A brother and sister combo that is unmatched. Other siblings, they die together. You can be a doublemint twin all you want. You're both fucking disappearing. But when you've got a boy who is great at Zaxxon and making masks and probably jerks off to fucking nude chicks from across the street while using the other hand to puppet a Ray Harryhausen puppet, you can't beat that. And Trish not only is supportive of her mother, they go exercising. She's asking about her mom's relationship. She even suggests, hey mom, you need to get laid. That is a true precious child who is there for her family. You combine them two, and they can take on anyone. They literally took on the best Jason in the world, and they won. They fucking won. And the only reason that I didn't give this a 10, because I gave it a 9, is because they did have to team up to do it. This was a tag team effort, in a triple threat match. The only time the lone person wins is when that's how they write the script. Because the lone person is the hero, and the other two are bad guys. This is a flip-flop. It's the two good guys versus the one bad guy. So because they share it, I gave it a 9 instead of a 10, and I stand by that. And with that being said, we move on to score and soundtrack. Kenneth.
I gave the score a 9.
The reason why I gave it a 9 is because it has the classic elements. But if you listen closely, there are moments where there have been changes made to the score, and it's hard to describe. But there is, like, you can hear little small keyboard elements in certain spots, like at the beginning. And for those little bit of changes to me that just gave it a little bit more of a creep factor, along added to the classic Friday the 13th feel, that's the reason why I gave this one a 9.
Okay, so kind of like Under Pressure into Ice Ice Baby.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe I got you to agree to that.
Yeah.
All right, Jay, score / soundtrack.
All right. As you guys know from the last 3 episodes, I have a hard time keeping track of the actual score. So I gave it a 7. Wasn't terrible, but nothing really stuck out to me. Of course, this is all my personal inability to process that kind of information through my brain. But yeah, nothing too terrible. The music fit the scenes that were happening, and I thought it was decent. So 7 out of 10.
You know, I do have to say, I'm glad that you're like me, Jay, and you have a hard time with score and soundtrack, because I'm the same way. Like, soundtrack is a little bit easier to do when they're using actual songs, but the actual score of the movie, I have a hard time with, because I a lot of times just don't notice it.
Right.
And so I'm glad that there is someone out there like me.
Yeah, and sometimes using actual music for your soundtrack is a detriment, as we'll find out when we get to scoring Nightmare on Elm Street. Ugh.
Oh, shit. Brian, score / soundtrack.
I also give it a 7. It is good, it is effective, but it is just an iteration on what's been done before. Harry Manfredini, and maybe this is some of my other, like, every soundtrack he does sounds the same. We just watched The Children the other day, and he does that, and it sounds like a Friday the 13th movie. So it's one of those things where he found something he likes and he just ran with it. And yeah, he does make little changes and little differences. I have the entire Harry Manfredini Friday the 13th box set. It's awesome. And there is little variations between each movie, but they're only minor changes. So you add that up with all the times I've seen all the various movies, and it almost starts fading into the background for me. Maybe if I listened to it with fresh ears and didn't know all the movies as much as and as well as I do, it'd be different. But I got to go with how I rated it, and that is a good, solid, respectable, but not amazing 7.
Yeah, we call that a hand job around here.
Yeah.
And I also gave it a hand job. I gave it a 7 for what Brian said and what Jay said. One, I have a hard time hearing soundtracks for whatever reason. I can never remember them. And so it probably has to do with the fact that I don't listen to music that doesn't have vocals. I don't listen to instrumentals or stuff like that. But it also, Harry does a lot of stuff that's exactly the same. And you would think I'd be used to that because with the Godzilla movies, Akira Ifukube, he does that a lot. But what he does is he likes to take 2 different songs from the franchises and mash them together. And so, you know, he's like 2 monsters are fighting and he'll mix the Godzilla theme with the Ghidorah theme into one song. So, like, even though Akira Ifukube does literally the same thing Harry Manfredini does, Ifukube does it with a bit more sauce, a bit more creativity behind it. And I think that's what separates why I can understand in the Godzilla franchise. But in the Friday franchise, I'm like, okay, it's the same song. And I think it hurts this movie more just in the fact that in the part 3, we got this super groove-tastic song. And then in part 4, which part 4 does not call for a groove-tastic song, we get just this more standard Friday ominous thing, but there's no song that really sets it. No one, when they talk about Friday the 13th part 4, not many people are going to talk about the soundtrack. If they're going to talk about soundtrack for one of the movies, they're probably going to talk about part 3, to be honest. Now we move into one of the most personal categories, Scare factor, Kenneth.
I gave it an 8. And the biggest thing that made the movie scary for me was things that I brought up before. Is the kills, you know, like, and now that I have been schooled on the kill in the basement by Brian, you know, that even added into it now that I really think about it, you know, and so like that to me is what made it scary, you know, like getting my fucking head crushed in the shower, or you know, damn, the cleaver to the face, even though it was pretty standard, it still to me is just kind of like, you know, he's you see him trying to fucking run and he can't because his hand is fucking damn stuck to the damn to the counter with the corky screw. And so
Corky screw?
Yeah, the corky screw.
I'm calling that from now on.
And so, you know, I mean, they're the kills themselves are getting your head twisted around or shit like that, you know. I mean, this is what you got, 2 things going on right there. Number one, you did not realize that this person was still alive, you know, so you're just like, holy fuck, there's somebody there. And then number 2, you're about to die. So you got you got a double whammy right there of just absolute fear. So I think the kills themselves, not really the ambiance of the movie, but the kills is what I find scary. So I gave it an 8.
All right, Jay.
I give not kills, scare factor. I give Scare Factor a 7 out of 10. I just, you know, the same thing I say for the last 3 episodes. It's hard for me to judge scariness. There's some really good atmosphere in this, so that's why the score is where it's at. There are some parts that were genuinely creepy. I don't know why the guy cut his own tent open with the machete, but it was a good creepy situation going on, and you thought maybe it was Jason, so that was kind of cool. But as I've stated before, it's just hard for me to be scared by situations like this. So 7 out of 10.
All right, Brian.
Okay, this is a bit weird, but 6. Slashers have never scared me, ever. Even this movie. Jason is my homeboy. It was the first horror movie I ever saw that really, you know, put me on the path, and all that. I wasn't really scared by it. Like you said, it's a very personal thing. And for me, I only get really scared through ghost movies or spirit movies or stuff like that. Slashers, no matter how well they're done, have never frightened me. That being said, I love slashers. I have a huge slasher library. I've seen all of them multiple times. They're just fun, enjoyable movies I can watch with a smile on my face. But actually scaring me, not so much. And that being said, this is probably one of the most effective ones out of them. So, 6.
Okay. I just had like, you ever have someone say something and you have a flashback to like a book you were reading or a story you were listening to, or story you were listening to through a podcast or an audiobook or a movie you were watching? Mm-hmm. Like you just have I just had a full flashback to a Skeleton Crew episode where Jamie talked about seeing someone in her bathroom and how she just like straight up dipped and left her house. And they like went on this whole thing about like, did he like lean back to look at you or something? It was, I don't know what episode it is. I'm sure they have like 2 episodes, I think, where they talk about personal ghost stories and shit. And Jamie might remember. But I just had like a complete flashback when you said ghost stories, because obviously if I think about you, I think about Jamie, and then if I think about Jamie, I think about Skeleton Crew, and then going back to the ghost, it made me remember that story she told.
It's one great big daisy chain.
Yeah.
But yeah, spirits and ghosts and haunts and all that stuff, that creeps me the fuck out. Other things can be good and I can enjoy them, but they really don't, pin me down, in the fear factor like those do.
I'm with you. Those are the movies that raise my anxiety so much. I literally, the first time I watched Sinister, had to stop it halfway through because I was about to have an anxiety attack. Those movies, they raise my anxiety. They're a little bit harder for me to watch. Like, I recently finally just watched the first 2 Insidious movies for the first time. And even through theirs, and James Wan has a problem where he makes his ghosts and shit very cartoony. But even those, I was still like, kind of like fucking my arms were cold, my hair was sticking up. I was freaking out a little bit. I don't know what it is about ghost movies, but I agree, they are the ones that get me the most.
Cool.
But I gave Scare Factor an 8 because what else gets me the most is I've grown up living mostly in the woods. Anyone who's from the South is used to living surrounded by a lot of woods, and that makes things like this much scarier for me. He just can't die. He keeps coming fucking back, and he can get into anywhere. He can do anything. He is coming. You are in his woods, and you can't be here, or he will come back. Anytime someone's in his woods, he comes back. And the fact that there's a kid in this one, and for me seeing this as a kid, I was like, oh shit, it's no longer the horny teenagers die. I can die. I am in the mix. For the first time ever, I truly feel as a kid that I could have been killed by Jason. And I think that makes it much more terrifying as a child, knowing that the older crowd isn't the only ones who could become a victim. You could. Because until you see the end of the movie, you don't know if he's going to die or not. They're going to have the balls to do it. I had already seen Alligator. I'd already seen one kid die in a horror movie. I'm pretty sure he could die in this one, and it got me. But much like the first time I watched the original Last House on the Left, when I watch something where murder happens in the woods, it always happens to be when I'm surrounded by fucking woods. And it fucking gets me, especially at night. Luckily, I live in apartments now, and the woods are not close enough. They're still there. They're still looming. But it doesn't kill me. So I gave it an 8. Okay. We move into entertainment.
Shoes up.
Is that Jamie and her cats?
Cats?
I can hear Jamie, which means she has brought cats with her.
Cats?
Well, of course.
Okay.
I gave entertainment a 9. Because I'm always entertained by this movie. I mean, there's never a point where I'm just like, I can't watch this movie. If I see it on TV or something like that, I'm always going to watch it. I mean, this is just, to me, it's a very entertaining. Wallet?
Take that.
Brian, what are you doing?
Look, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
That was supposed to be muted.
Something about a wallet. Anyway, yeah, Kenneth, I agree with you. If this movie's on, I could sit down and watch the shit out of this one.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of the ones that I grew up watching them. Probably this one in Part 6. Probably I watched the most as a kid. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, because my mom always had one of these two on when I was a kid, and then obviously when I discovered Part 7, that was my go-to. But yeah, this one and Part 6 were the two ones that my mom had on all the time when I was a kid. So I thought this movie was very entertaining. So I gave it a 9.
All right. I'm actually really interested in this one, Jay. What do you give this for entertainment?
I gave it a 9 as well. It's the best Friday the 13th. So it is the most entertaining Friday the 13th. With everything we've covered already, that kind of goes into the entertainment. The kills are varied and interesting, so that's entertaining. The acting is really good, so that's entertaining. Tommy Jarvis is one of the best heroes ever, so that's entertaining. Like, just the whole thing is just overall entertaining. So almost a 10, but it's not perfect. So 9 out of 10.
Fair enough. Brian, are you back? Okay, he's not back. I'm doing it. Entertainment. I also gave you this one a 9. It's beautifully shot. It's super well crafted, and I am entertained anytime I watch it. Like, it is one of the easiest slashers to sit down and watch in general. So I have to give it a 9. Brian, entertainment.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Entertainment, 10. I always enjoy this movie. It puts a smile on my face. I giggle like an idiot while watching it. It is, and again, it was my... What's that?
It's a true story.
Jamie has to put her 2 cents in. But I do. When I watch this, I just laugh. It's not like I'm laughing at it. I'm laughing with it. It makes me happy. So 10.
All right. We move into rewatchability. Kenneth.
Also coming with a 9.
Because, like I said when I was talking about entertainment, there's never a moment where I can't rewatch this movie. If it comes on TV, I'm more than likely going to watch it. It's one of the go-tos that I go to when I feel like watching a Jason movie. So overall, I mean, it's definitely got rewatchability, and for the most part, I mean, unless I was sitting there watching it on repeat like I did with Grandma's Boy and stuff like that, I doubt that I would ever really get bored with it.
I agree with you there. Jay.
8 out of 10. It's one of my go-tos when it comes to the Friday the 13th movies. I've got a couple, and this is definitely one of them. It's probably the one I rewatched the most. I don't know why I didn't give it a 10, now that I think about it, but I know I had a reason when I wrote it down. I was also very tired, so maybe I didn't have a reason. But yeah, 8 out of 10. It's easily one of the most rewatchable ones out of the entire series.
All right, Brian.
Yeah. 10 out of 10. I could watch this movie every week out of the year, and I would enjoy it each and every time. Again, this is the high water mark for me when it comes to slashers and just overall fun, enjoyable horror. I love it.
All right, I am also at a 9. It is the most watched Friday the 13th for me. There's a close second with Part 5 because I love Part 5 and I can watch that one over and over. But it's just one of the most well-done slashers of all time. And the only reason it doesn't give a 10 for me is because it's not Jaws. If it would have had a shark in it, maybe I would have bumped it to a 10. It was missing that. We move on to the last category. We are almost done with Friday the 13th, gentlemen. All right, pop culture, Kenneth.
Also a 9. I mean, he's, this is the first full where he's running around with a hockey mask on. This one is known for Jason's best death. It's known for the best hero. I mean, overall, this one has got, to me, I think this one's got a huge pop culture status. So,
agreed.
I gave it a 9.
Jay.
I also gave it a 9. Like Kenneth said, it's the one where he wears the hockey mask the most. And if you actually look at a lot of the people who cosplay as Jason, the hockey mask with the chip missing out of it where he got the axe to the head is probably the most used one. And like I said earlier, this is the movie that kind of solidifies how Jason is for the rest of the series. It's probably the most well-known version of Jason, the way he acts for the general audience. So easily 9 out of 10.
All right, Brian.
I gave it an 8. I can't argue with what everybody else said, but I just think now it's maybe Jason as a whole has taken a step or two back. I do think that this movie specifically, if for nothing else, it's known as the joke that is the final chapter. Everybody knows, the final chapter, right? So that alone makes it memorable. So yeah, 8.
All right, I gave it a 9. It gives us Tommy Jarvis. It gives us a corkscrew. It gives us a dead fuck. Hell, it gave us Gordon. This is one of the most important films in the franchise to Friday fans. Especially when it's looking at living Jason. So I had to come with a 9. And that means we are here for scores, guys. Here are the scores. I gave it 127 out of 150. Kenneth gave it 128. Jay gave it 120, and Brian gave it 130. So Brian, you gave it the highest score, and Jay, you gave it the lowest score, and Kenneth, you and I were off by 1 point.
Yay!
Woo! So close.
And again, in retrospect, I would have been even higher. So
I feel like I would be even higher also, because there's a few things that y'all have talked me up on that I would probably tick over to another point. On a few of those, I probably would have ended up coming up to 130. But that's the best thing about these is not only do people's scores come up, but we learn things, we get things we don't know explained to us, and everyone kind of comes together to make Horror Coliseum something special. And with that said, we are leaving Friday the 13th.
Bye, good movie.
All right, we are now going into A Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 4, The Dream Warrior. And of course, after we do all these ratings, I have a bunch of questions that if they don't get answered during the thing, I'm going to ask y'all. Because with the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, even though I've seen the entire series, these feel like first watches for me. Because I don't remember jack shit from Dream Warrior.
Dream Master.
Dream Master. Whatever. I feel like I would have known it. I can't believe there's a movie with Christian Slater in it and I didn't know about it.
Nah.
I was like, what the fuck? Okay.
I don't think he's in this.
Yeah, he is. He plays fucking Tuesday's boyfriend.
Tuesday?
Yeah, the fucking chick who replaced the other chick who is the same character.
No, that's
the
not
brother
Christian
with the
Slater.
really bad hair.
Right. Yeah, the chick that plays Alice is named, the actress's name is Tuesday Night.
Mm-hmm.
Ha!
Yeah, she performed the
That's funny.
theme song. Thank
Ugh.
you, Skeleton
We'll get to
Crew.
that.
I think she's dead now. Is she dead now?
From this acting, yeah, probably. Okay. All right, story. This story is literally just a rehash of fucking 3, just done super dumb and super simple. They were like, copy our homework, but just change a couple of things. So I gave it a 5. This story was fucking awful. It's enough to make the movie go, but I could care absolutely less about what the story of this movie is. Brian.
Agree. It's a 5. It does some really stupid things. The whole Freddy comes back because a dog pisses on him. What the hell is that?
So
The way they kill Freddy. Sorry, go ahead.
I read a thing that said that Robert Englund says that is supposed to represent that a hellhound is bringing him back to life.
Yeah, that's what you call reaching. It's dumb. It's not a hellhound. It's the guy's fluffy dog named Jason. Cool enough. But, yeah, it's dumb. I'm sorry. And the way they kill him at the end, the whole look in your reflection and he will die. It's like, really? That's the best you can do? You show Freddy a mirror and he just explodes. So.
Yeah, when your death is weaker than how Christopher Lee dies in a Hammer film,
Yes.
you've got some fucking problems.
What saves it for me a little bit is some of the kills that we'll get to. There's the bit where they're like, hurry, we got to get to, I forget her name, so-and-so. And they get in a truck and they drive away. And then they show them coming running back out. Hurry, we got to get to so-and-so. And they get in a truck and they drive away.
Oh, yeah, the time.
And then they show, I
that
like
was
that
good.
because that's very dreamlike. And I like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies the best when they embrace the whole wacky rubber reality kind of thing where just stuff can happen because dream. But all the other parts, the main thrust of the story is just lame and tired. And like you said, it seems like a direct cut and paste from the last one. I mean, hell, you got 3 returning characters. They kill them all off quick. And then you get a new girl who gets the same power that the last girl had. I mean, it's almost literally the same damn movie.
Whoa, 4 returning characters? Don't disrespect Kristen's mom like that. She held down.
That's right.
Okay.
On delay.
All right. Jay, story.
I gave it a 6. Not fantastic. The concept was there, just was not executed as well. Also, it's not the same power. She gets everyone else's powers, is what happens.
Her power is to suck other powers. She's fucking,
she's like
the chick
Rogue.
from Rogue.
Yeah. So that's a little different, okay? That's a little different than just being able to pull people into your dreams. That's the first power she gets. So anyway, the story was there, the concept was there. They needed a way to bring back Freddy, and they did it stupidly. There's plenty of other ideas they could have used that they decided not to. We get more unclarified dream abilities and Freddy's powers that just keep not making sense. But overall, it was okay. Just nothing phenomenal. So that's why I rated it a little bit higher than you guys.
All right, Kenneth.
I actually gave it a 7.
And the reason why I gave it a 7 is because I agree with Jay on the not executing it very well, but I like the idea of what they were trying to do to keep Freddy going. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think it was a little bit of a stretch to try to keep him going, but at the same time, they needed something, and they needed something that was different. And so getting more kids involved in it by, this chick that has the power bringing in somebody else to kind of further Freddy along with new kids to go against, I actually like that. They had to figure out a way to do it, and they figured out a way. And then giving the one girl, Alice, I think her name is, all the powers from each one of the other people. I like that. I just think I like the idea behind it. I just think that, again, they did a shit job of fucking making it awesome. So, the idea behind it was cool. So for the story, I give it a 7. Now there are other things on it that I'm just like, okay, whatever. So
I've got a
well,
pitch.
one thing about the whole girl getting everybody's power, it doesn't really factor into it at all. At the end, she does a little, fight with all their various powers, but at the end, it's a nursery rhyme that does Freddy in. She didn't need to have anyone else's power to do that.
That's true.
That's the reason why I'm saying. I mean, like I said, I thought the story was great, but how they executed it sucked.
All right, so, okay. Ken, do you remember last time I was there and you and I were talking about how we would redo movies?
Right.
This is how I redo this movie, okay? It's called The Dream Master. How do you bring Freddy Krueger back? Kristen can't stop having nightmares because she can't control her dreams because she's not a dream master, just a dream warrior. Therefore, she keeps having nightmares about Freddy Krueger. That fear from that, therefore, makes Freddy Krueger stronger, and he comes back because of that. Then, do whatever you want. You can basically do the same movie after that part. The end of it has Alice, who has become a dream master, able to control her dreams, instead, puts Freddy in a dream that he cannot escape, that she controls. So, he burst open with all the fucking spirits and body parts and Leanna Quigley holding him down, and he stays like that forever because she's a dream master and she can control her dreams and she can keep him locked in there. Bing, bang, boom, leaves it to where if something happens to her, Freddy comes out. You can still do another movie. Thank you. Send me the fucking check.
And see, I feel like that's what they were kind of going for. They just really, really, really fucked up.
Well, they should have hired me. I was born October 14th, 1988. So I don't want to hear no shit. This movie came out in 1998. They could have waited a year and I could have gave them perfection.
Woo!
Fuckers. Okay. We move into character development. I gave this a 6 because Christian Slater's in it. And I feel you do get a little bit of character development, but it's really light. And there's kind of a trade in the middle of this movie where you have your 3 original characters that you know, and then you completely trade out those 3 for this new set of characters. But as you're starting to learn them, you literally get introduced to them and then lose them. You find out one interesting fact about them, then you fucking lose them. And that kind of made it hard to develop any of these characters, other than them literally they don't just show you, they have to tell you also. She's into working out. Let's talk about working out a lot. This one's really smart. Let's make sure she's talking about those classes a lot. They do the show you instead of they do the show you and tell you. They could have just shown us. They had already shown us. We got it. Or one of the other. Don't do fucking both. That's something that annoys me. And yeah, just 6 for Christian Slater. Go ahead, Brian.
Excuse me. This is also a 6. For me, this is the beginning of the downward slide for Freddy, where he just becomes more and more humorous with each movie that follows. It started with part 3, but I think that was a fine line that he walked between scary and menacing and silly and funny. Here, it easily starts going the other way, where he's more funny all the time. I mean, the whole, hey, Rick, you're a saucy meatball. and you want to suck face, and just all his one-liners. It gets too much. So there is some character development in here. Unfortunately, it's bad character development for me. It weakens the character, and they take him down a path where, because he was getting so popular and he was getting, I mean, kids were worshiping Freddy at this time. So they really wanted to make him like, I don't know, Gallagher with a razor glove or something like that. It doesn't work for me. So 6.
Fair enough. Jay?
I gave the character development a 7. My score for Freddy's change goes more into the killer. I like, well, what is her name now? Alice. Oh. Jesus, fuck. I'm terrible with names. I really like the Alice character. I am sympathetic to her situation of having to deal with the loss of her mother and her father being an alcoholic asshole. I like her change into a stronger, more independent character. Everyone else, like you guys said, is kind of just one notes. Like, oh, yep, that person's smart. That person likes working out. Now they're dead. That's sad. So that's kind of why it got a 7 instead of anything higher. But I really enjoyed Alice, so she's most of that 7 there.
All right, Kenneth.
It was pretty much the same thing. I gave it a 7 for the same reason, and it wouldn't have got a high of a score if it hadn't have been for Alice, because at the beginning, the exactly what Jay said, that thing about dealing with the fact of losing her parent, and then the way her father is dealing with the fact that he lost his wife, and being a drunk and whatever else, and taking out his bullshit on the kids and whatnot. I think that gave it a little bit more of a dynamic. And so for that reason, that it got a 7, and every and just like Jay said, pretty much everybody else was just kind of, like y'all said, just kind of, one and done. But she was the one that was really the driving force for character wise. So I gave it a 7.
All right. Pacing and editing. I actually gave this an 8. The pacing isn't actually bad for this movie. It keeps going constantly. I'm never bored in this movie. I'm pissed off and confused, but I'm never bored. So that I give it that. At no point am I ever like, please just move forward. I'm more like, you're stupid, or someone please fucking die. Please let it be Freddy. Please let the credits roll. So pacing and editing, 8. Brian.
I also agree. It's not bad. I give it a 7, just slightly below you. To me, it drags a little bit in the middle, but not horribly so. It does, at the end, pick up some speed, and the final confrontation is really abrupt. Perhaps maybe a bit too much so. But while I have some issues with the movie, I can't say it's because I'm bored or just wishing, oh, come on, get on with it. So I think it's well paced.
All right, Jay.
I gave the pacing and editing an 8. Despite my problems with the story and some of the characters, it moves right along. It's never really a lull. You get the opening where we see what's been happening with the characters since the last one. Then Freddy comes on pretty quickly. We knock off the characters from the last one. And almost as soon as they're introduced, the old characters start to die. So there's plenty of kills keeping it going. And despite all its other issues, I think it flows and is edited pretty well. I wouldn't really change anything edit and pacing wise.
All right, Kenneth.
I gave it a 6. There were just moments in it, like when Kristen's going through the house, where I'm just like, come the fuck on. I mean, even if she was crawling on the ceiling upside down and whatnot, I was just like, okay. And that may have had a little bit to do with the actress playing her, because I really didn't care for her either. But, it's just one of those things where I'm just like, got to get going. And then I completely agree with Brian at the end of it, where it's just like, a couple of kicks, couple of this, couple of that, and then all of a sudden there's a mirror in its face, and that's it. And so it just it was one of those things where at the end of it you just could not get a good squirt. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, you're sitting there and you're vigorously jacking off and then it just don't blow all the way. And you're just like, man, what the fuck? That's kind of what it was for me.
Wow. Okay. We move on to atmosphere. Same problem I had with part 3. Any creepy atmosphere, it builds up. It ruins immediately with Freddy doing something fucking stupid. And so this movie gets a 5 for atmosphere for me. I see the attempts, but they don't outshine the failures. So, Brian.
Ditto. It gets a 5. I never feel any sense of atmosphere in this. I never have any creeps or shudders or even like, woo. It's very, in that regard, by the numbers for me. It's like, here we go. It's like they point a camera, they hit the record button, and that's all they care about. So, yeah, 5.
All right, Jay.
Surprisingly, I actually agree with both of you, and I gave it a 5 as well. While I find this version of Freddy with his witty one-liners to be highly entertaining, I feel it kills any attempt to make a creepy atmosphere. I think probably the creepiest thing in the movie are probably the parents, with Alice's dad being unreliable as a parent and Kristen's mom being the same mom from number 3. I feel those two characters are way more terrifying than Freddy is in this. And really, the only thing that was creepy about Freddy is when he dresses up in drag and pretends to be the school nurse. Like, that was the creepiest Freddy moment for me. So yeah, I gave it a 5 out of 10.
Fair enough, Kenneth.
5s all around.
Nah, I love it. Love it.
Nah,
5s all around. Because I mean, it was just, there really wasn't a whole lot of atmosphere there. I mean, I agree. There were moments where it was just like, it was almost there, and then something fucked it up. So, I give it a 5.
All right, we move on to scenery set design. I gave it an 8. This is one thing that this series is good at. Everything always looks good. It doesn't quite reach the impressiveness as part 3. But as I go on, I just have to constantly say, well, you know what? Their sets look fucking good. It's like they're really good at the technical stuff, and they're not as good at the creative of the, like, actually characters and stories. But what the camera's pointing at will look good. Brian.
Once again, I agree with you 100%. It's an 8. And like you said, technically, things look good. When we're in the nightmare world, things look off just enough. I love the look of Nancy's old house, how it's fallen apart over the years, at least in Dreamland. And just everything. I mean, it's a little thing, but it's an overhead shot of the classroom when, what's her name? The brainy one. I forget her name. Anyways, the whole you want to suck face. She's sitting in the center of this room, and just the tiles on the floor, they all radiate out from her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool. It's something that would be in a dream. And like I said, I like when the nightmare movies really go with that. But like you said, they have the technical expertise down. For me, it's the artistic side that is somewhat lacking here. But as far as scenery and set, 8.
All right, Jay.
I thought I already did. Oh, no, I didn't. Sorry. That was atmosphere. I did scenery and set design at 8 as well. We are all on the same page with this one. Like you guys said, despite all the other issues it has, the movies always tend to look good. I think these movies have more of an opportunity with scenery set design than the Friday the 13th movies do, because Friday the 13th takes place in the real world and basically in the same location every movie, so it tends to get a little stale, whereas these can play around with that because we have the dream world. So that's why this one scored a little bit higher than the Friday the 13th, and it all looks good when you're actually watching it.
All right, Kenneth.
I gave it a 9. And the main reason why I stepped up one above an 8 was because of the tiles in the classroom and the junkyard. I thought the junkyard looked great. It gave it that maze feel to it versus in the third one it looked like a legit junkyard. But I think the difference is the dream world versus the real world, because the junkyard was in the real world in the first one. So in the third one, but in this one it definitely it has that labyrinth feel to it, especially when you see that big shot where it looks like the whole world is the junkyard.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely has that labyrinth feel to it. And then, yeah, the tiles, and like Brian said, I thought that was great. I thought whoever built that to make it look that way did a great job on the tiles and that. And that's the reason why I stepped it up to a 9.
All right. We move on to my favorite category when it comes to A Nightmare on Elm Street, acting.
Oh, Lordy.
4. Who the fuck... I understand that the director is not American.
Mm-hmm.
But seriously, you couldn't look at Tuesday Night and be like, I understand you're giving us the theme song, but you got to act better. She's horrible. None of the performances in this movie to me, for the acting wise, is good. Some of the performances, while special effects are happening, are very well for the stunt people. But the acting by our standard cast is fucking terrible. In fact, I gave it, so it was at a 2. Then I was like, oh, well, Nancy's not. No Heather Langenkamp, add a point. And I like Kmart Christian Slater, so I added another point. So it came up to a 4 from a 2. And I feel like those are justifiable. But we'll see how maybe I'm wrong while we move on to these 3. Brian, acting. I think I killed Brian by saying a 4.
Brian's dead.
Brian's
Sorry.
dead. Jay, acting.
Rest in peace. Jay gave the acting a 7. I didn't really get what you were saying from any of them. I mean, it was typical teen unknown actors acting in a slasher film. So I didn't really... My standards for these kind of movies are already lower than normal, but I didn't really have a problem with anybody. Nobody really stood out to me as, oh God, they're super grating. And then Robert Englund is always fantastic as Freddy, regardless of how they're writing the character. His acting always stands out to me. So he makes up most of that, but the rest of it I just didn't have a problem with. So that's why I gave it a 7.
All right, then. Brian, are you back?
Yes, I am. Sorry,
All
my
right.
computer and microphone are fighting.
Acting.
5. There is some really bad acting in here. Robert is always good as Freddy. Even if he is starting to get too jokey and smirky for me, he still delivers a hell of a performance. As for everyone else, they are all just different levels of suck. We watched this, me and Jamie, last night, and on 3 different occasions, one of us would go, wow. I mean, just at that level of horrible acting in this. And yes, I agree with you. Tuesday is just bad. She is easily the low water mark of all the actors. So, and this is one in retrospect, maybe I would have went down a little bit. But I was feeling generous and gave it a straight 5.
I actually did have it knocked up a little. I had it low. Like I had it at like a 2 for Robert Englund, and then I brought it up slightly. But I just can't. Kenneth, what are you with acting on this?
I gave it a 5 also. I mean, and if it hadn't been for Robert Englund, it wouldn't have got that, because Tuesday Night's acting was just fucking shit. It was terrible, and Joey and Kincaid were pretty much the same people. And so, and that was another reason why I got a little bit higher, is because Kincaid's acting stayed the same. He didn't get any worse, and he didn't get any better. So he was pretty much the same character. So I like the fact that they stuck with it and didn't change anything drastic, but the rest of them were just terrible. I mean, so he got a 5, and looking at it now, I probably would have knocked off another point or 2.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about. If Heather Langenkamp would have been in here, I would have gave it a 1.
I would have given it a 7.
Oh, get the fuck out of here. She's awful. 2. Okay, next to Tuesday, she might look good.
I want to stick my dick in damn Heather Langenkamp's mouth so bad, and it's always open, so it should be easier.
Yeah, it's always fucking open. She ain't gonna shut it ever. Jesus Christ. All right, we move on to special effects. Something else that this series is actually really good at. And once again, I think they do a good job here. I gave it an 8. I do feel it's a little less ambitious than some of the other stuff done in the movies, with really the two deaths that stick out the most are Debbie, the one who works out, which I'm half and half on. I don't like the arm breaks. Where the fuck's the blood? That, like, there should have been blood there. You don't rip someone's arm open like that and not get a little bit of blood. But also,
it's the dream world.
And what, Freddy don't like blood all of a sudden?
I'm just saying you can excuse pretty much any illogicalness with that.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you that. No, they've killed. Okay, Johnny Depp died in the dream world, and his blood was fucking everywhere.
That's true.
So I just didn't like that. But when it comes to her becoming a bug, I did like that. I liked him crushing the box and Phantasm blood coming out. That was cool. And then the ending with Freddy's chest and all that looked great. So special effects are an 8. I feel like they should have been better in this movie compared to 3. But what are you going to do? Brian?
Once again, I'm right there with you. Also an 8. For me, the highlight is the whole Roach Motel scene. I really get a kick out of that. And yes, the Freddy, the souls of my children, that was really well done. And hell, anytime you get to see Linnea's tatas, that's going to get a few points for me right there. So,
Right?
yes?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So, yeah, an impressive 8.
All right, finally some high swings. Jay?
Also an 8. We're on pretty much the same page with this movie tonight. Yeah, basically echoing what you guys said. I actually don't like the initial arm break either, but that's because it looks more rubbery than any of the other special effects. But once the actually arms come out,
her skin is thicker than my dick.
And then her, yeah, that's true. And then her face ripping off to reveal the cockroach head was really good. Freddy's death is probably quote unquote, is probably my favorite Freddy death out of all of them. They built a giant model of his chest to have those hands come out, and shot like his reaction to it, and the way they did that is just super impressive to me. And so I really, really, really like the way he bites it in this one. Not story-wise, just the special effects with the hands coming out of his chest and all the souls inside of him rebelling. But yeah, everything was pretty much on point the whole movie.
All right, Kenneth?
I gave it a 9.
Mary Jane says she disagrees. I heard her.
Oh. Hang on, 'cause I don't see Mary Jane in here.
Oh,
He's like, let me confirm that.
That might have been one of mine.
And Fatty Cat is solely passed out.
Oh, then it was probably
I
one
mean,
of
he
Brian's
is
cat.
out. Anyhow, yeah, I gave the special effects a 9. I mean, I thought that aside from, again, I agree with y'all with the arms, but aside from that, I thought the cockroach scene was great. My favorite thing above all in the entire movie was the look of Freddy. I liked the way his makeup was done. I thought it was done really well. And watching it on Blu-ray in here, I think it shines better than any of the previous ones that we watched so far, because you get the cool thing about the cartoony Freddy when he starts getting his one-liners and shit like that is they also show him a lot more in the light. And so, like in the classroom scene, you get a straight-up, close-up view of what Freddy looks like in broad daylight. You know, you can't really tell as much in the beach scene because he's still got his hat on and sunglasses. But you get a straight, full-on, no hat on shot of his face, and it looks awesome. I think that makeup looks so good. And so, between that and the cockroach scene and then a couple of other spots that were in it, I thought it was great. So I gave it a 9.
I also got to add the killing of the black girl, the smart girl, I can't remember her name, looked awful.
Yes.
It was so bad that I just took it out of my brain. It's not in my notes or nothing. I just wanted to pretend like that one didn't exist. But there's a specific shot when he's sucking her face and you can see like her fake eye cave thing in. It's awful.
She's a rubber sex doll.
Well, don't say that. You'll get Kenneth all horny.
Okay.
We move on.
I'm so excited.
We move on to kills/gore. I gave this a 6. I think the kills are severely lacking. The only interesting one's the bug one. Though I will say my actual favorite, and it's not necessarily the kill of it, but the reveal of Joey inside the waterbed when his mom finds him. One of my favorite shots, and even though technically there was blood everywhere in that dream world, no blood then. That was weird. But I just was not impressed by the kills. Freddy's kill is really good. The bug kill is good, but I almost lean more towards the special effects of it than the actual kill. And then the reveal of Joey was pretty actually terrifying. Other than that, this movie used a whole lot of hand glove kills. And I understand you ran out of budget for the fucking bootleg Christian Slater scene. But Jesus, come on. You really thought that were you just like, dude, we made a dog piss on him to bring him back to life. They'll fucking believe anything. Come on, man. That's just disrespectful to your audience. Anyway, so I only gave it a 6. I think I'll probably be the lowest on this one, but we'll see. Brian?
Nope, I gave it a 5. And all of that was for the cockroach kill. And like you said, a large part of that can be attributed to the special effects. But for me, all the kills here are just underwhelming and forgettable. I mean, there's just so many stab you with my glove, stab you with my glove. And especially the would-be Christian Slater and the whole invisible Freddy. Like you said, I get the whole we ran out of money, we couldn't get Robert back or whatever. You couldn't do anything else? That was the best you had? So, 5.
Fair enough. Jay?
All right, I swung high on this one. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I find the kills highly entertaining, actually. Again, this is because I like the one-liners that Freddy spouts. So that, me enjoying that on a personal level, entertainment-wise, kind of lends to why I enjoyed the kill so much. I like the suckface kill. I like the cockroach kill. I like Invisible Freddy because it makes sense with the whole karate thing. Whether that makes sense in the story or not is besides the point. I got a kick out of that. I thought that was hilarious. So while it may not have been the intended purpose, I felt that they were all very entertaining to me and varied enough that I was able to score it an 8 out of 10.
All right, Kenneth.
I gave it an 8 also because there were aspects of the kills that I really enjoyed. Like, for instance, Kincaid's kill in the junkyard. When he swings his damn hand around, and it may be just a glove kill, but man, there's some fucking force behind when he gets that guy in the gut. You know what I'm saying? And then he does it a second time and puts some force into it. I mean, it wasn't like when he's holding up the wizard kid in part 3, and he just kind of in his chest or something like that. No, he swings for fucking goddamn that dude's spine when he comes around and fucking brings it into his guts. I like that. I was just like, damn. And then, using other people's things against them, you know what I mean? Like Joey's kill in the waterbed, that one was cool. The suck face thing and her, her asthma and stuff like that, which I'm pretty sure at some point in time she was afraid she was going to die from an asthma attack or something like that. I like that. I like the fucking cockroach thing. So there were aspects of the kills that I really enjoyed, and I like the way that they twisted them around. It's just some of them weren't executed very well. But overall, I mean, I enjoyed them.
All right. Well, we move on to Monster/Killer, and I gave it a 6. Freddy is lame as shit, guys. He's not funny. His catch lines suck, and he's not scary. the reason it gets a 6 is just based off Robert Englund's performance of the material he was given. He always knocks it out of the park as Freddy. I just wish he was given better material, because even the one-liners in this movie are fucking just awful. Fucking that meatball one kills me. That's just so cringeworthy bad. Just want to suck face. That's not even a fucking joke. Like that. Honestly, I have so much respect for Robert Englund and his performance as the character that I gave it a 6. But honestly, I could have been way harsher here. Brian.
5. And some of that has to do with anger, because I do not like what they're doing with Freddy. And that may seem low, but in the following Nightmare on Elm Street movies, that would be even lower. I do not like funny Freddy. I do not like all his one-liners and I love soul food and all that stuff. He was such a good character in the first one. And he was a good character, starting to get a little funny, but still strong in the third one. And even in the second one, I didn't like where it went, but he was still scary in that. Here he just gets silly and more ridiculous as time goes on. So there might be some of that in here, because I really don't like what they were doing with him. So 5.
Fair enough. Jay.
6. Surprisingly enough, or maybe surprising, maybe not so surprising. I don't know.
You rated it the same as me. That's pretty surprising.
So again, I find one-liner Freddy to be entertaining. For me, the character doesn't really get annoying until Freddy's dead. I despise Freddy's dead. I'll talk more about that when we get there. But he's not at that point yet. Yes, this is more silly. There's absolutely zero darkness left to him, where he had retained at least a little bit of it in all the movies prior. This time he's gone. Like, him putting on sunglasses is absolutely goofy, but I still am very entertained by it. So I don't really care for it story-wise, but entertainment-wise, I still get a kick out of it. And so that's kind of why I landed at a 6.
All right, Kenneth.
I put it at a 7. And, I might be the highest, but I'm slowly walking it back, because, like, I gave him an 8 in the last one. And so I'm slowly walking it back because of, it just, from this point on up until New Nightmare, it just gets sillier and sillier.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I'm slowly walking it back, but there are still aspects of him that I find that, are brutal. If they took out the one-liners and left the kills the way they were, he'd be a little bit more sinister. So there are still aspects of it that I see as him being a little bit more brutal, but overall, I mean, he's just slowly getting worse and worse.
All right. Next, we move into the ever controversial hero. I gave this a 7. Alice is cool, but she doesn't go through the struggle against the enemy that I feel like she should. Hers is more of the guilt trip of her feeling that people are dying around her. Kristen does a lot of the fighting early on, and then when it switches to Alice, Freddy does more of a psychological battle against her, and then Alice ends up winning the last battle by straight up doing some Goku shit. Really, someone else did all the work, and she just kind of slides in at the end to be like, I'm taking care of this, and fucking killing Frieza in Resurrection of F, and Vegeta like, motherfucker, that was my kill. I had this. So I don't know. I think I was just really nice on this one. So I probably could have honestly went lower, but I was nice. So I gave Alice a 7. Brian?
Another 5. She doesn't impress me. She doesn't anger me. I'm never like, oh, damn it, get someone else, or why'd you do that? But she does nothing noteworthy. And especially if you think about, she does get this cool ability to, use all the strengths of her friends to fight Freddy at the end, and then nothing comes of it. She kind of does it, but it has no effect. And like I said, it's a nursery rhyme at the end that does all the, because she remembers what her mom would say, and it just, I don't know. She's not very good. She's not inspiring. 5.
All right, Jay.
7. Like I said earlier, I'm really sympathetic to her situation. I grew up with an alcoholic single parent taking care of me, and I kind of had to be the parent a lot of the time. So maybe that's why I like that she goes from being afraid to stand up for herself to willing to take on the thing that's killing all of her friends. I mean, granted, that's a standard plot device, but I still enjoy it, and so I gave her a 7 out of 10.
All right, Kenneth.
I gave her a 6, and you know, I liked the fierceness of her at the end because she definitely had a ferocity at it. But at the same time, you know, I liked Alice at the beginning. You know what I'm saying? And had she have made that transition on her own without the personality traits coming from what she is getting from her dying friends, it probably would have been a little bit cooler to me. But she, you know, and I think that kind of goes into what Jerry was saying about the struggle, because she doesn't, you know, go through it. All she really sees is that her friends are dying around her, but the majority of her strength and her bravery comes from these attributes that she's acquiring from the rest of her friends. It's not coming from her having a spiritual or damn mental evolution.
Oh, I didn't even think about that, to be honest with you. That's a good point.
Yeah, she's not doing it on her own. So for like I said, the ferocity of her at the end of it, I gave it a 6. But you know, if I wanted to really, really sit down and pick it apart, I probably would have dropped the score down very, very, very far, because of just simply, you know, the hero at the end of it isn't Alice. It's the shell of Alice with all the rest of her friends powering her along.
Yeah, it's all the people inside Alice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that one for me was one I scored high because I was like, man, I'm giving this some kind of low scores. So I was like, I'm going to throw a bone to this one, but I think this is one that I also would come down on. But one that I will say I'm sticking to. This one might surprise you. Score/soundtrack. I'm giving it an 8. This soundtrack is dope. It fucks with 80s like pop music instead of 80s metal, because we all know I don't like 80s metal. And I'm jammed to some Sinhead O'Connor, okay? Fight the real enemy. All right, see me on SNL. That's all I got to say. I enjoyed the soundtrack to this. I jammed out to it. I was getting my MTV on. I don't care what people think about me, because fuck it. Brian.
You know, I gave this a 7. It's good. It's a solid soundtrack. And I'm going to throw Tuesday some love. Well, I don't think she can act. I like her 80s Nightmare song at the end. It is cheesy and 80s as all hell, but I love that. It's right in my wheelhouse. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Fat Boys and they're Ready for Freddy. That is just horrible. But, yeah, 7.
Fair enough, Jay.
Wow. I gave it a 5. And this is kind of what I was mentioning during the Friday the 13th review, is that its use of actual songs feels really out of place at the times they decide to use them to me. While the songs themselves aren't bad, when they're presented in the movie, it just like contradicts the atmosphere I feel like they're going for. Like having that fun, like 80s pop song while Alice is gearing up, getting ready to fight. I'm like, what? So
you're right, because there's no way anyone exercises to Sinead O'Connor. No way. Doesn't happen.
But besides that, you know, the standard music was okay when they had it, but just the music itself fell off in the scenes when they used it. So, yeah, 5.
All right, Kenneth.
I gave it an 8.
I thought the soundtrack was great.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, there were good songs all the way through it, and it actually paved the way for one of my favorite songs that is actually in my iTunes that I still listen to this day, and different versions of it, which is the Barama Rama Anything. That song that's playing when you see the brother fucking doing his martial arts thing in the fucking garage.
Oh yeah,
I fucking love that song.
That song is great.
Yeah, I have always loved that. I love the lyrics to that song. I mean, that's one of those songs that, you know, I searched out after I saw this movie, and it's one of those that the lyrics fucking really hit home and resonate with me. So I really like that. And then the other songs that were in it were great too. The main part of the score was pretty generic and just like all the rest of the movies, but the song picks in this they were good. I enjoyed it. I really did.
All right, fair enough. Ooh, fuck me. We move into scare factor. I gave it a 5 because just like the water bed death is kind of freaks me out a little bit. But I have a hard time just getting scared of this Freddy. Like, yes, he has the ability to kill me. He's a dream demon. He's gonna turn me into a fucking meatball? Like, get the fuck out of here, homie. You're not scary anymore. You're done. Go back to fucking Nightmare 2 and rework the homophobia mental fucking travesty there and find your scariness and come back. Because you're not doing it in this movie. Sorry, just now. Brian.
A 2.
Yeah.
There is nothing scary in this. Nothing remotely scary. And that could be affected by the fact that I actively hate when Freddy's doing these one-liners and being all wacky. It is the anti-scary. So for me, it just totally doesn't work in that department.
All right. Jay.
5. There are still some creepy elements. The opening is a little creepy. Before Freddy gets resurrected is creepy. When he's not talking is creepy. I really liked the hospital set at the end when he's like asleep in surgery. I thought that whole situation and setup was really cool and a good concept. He's kind of under anesthetic, and then he starts bleeding when they are operating on him in the real world. So even though we don't ever get a solid set of rules that Freddy has to operate by, that the dream world operates by, I thought that was a cool concept. So yeah, that's 5 out of 10.
All right, Kenneth.
I gave it a 3. It really there were a couple of spots that were just slightly unnerving, but when I say slightly, I really mean slightly. And the only reason why I gave this one a 3 mainly is because of those two things and the fact that I'm pretty sure it's going to come in lower later.
Yeah, it only got a 5 for me because I think I really am terrified of the whole waterbed death. If I wake up and I'm trapped inside a waterbed, I'm freaking the fuck out. Is game over. We move on to entertainment. Mine's gonna be real quick. I gave it a 6 because this movie is lacking, but I wouldn't call it boring. It's passable. Brian.
5. It's a middle of the road movie for me. It doesn't anger me when I watch it. Like some of the later ones legitimately do anger me. I get mad and I have to turn them off. I can watch this one, but I don't really enjoy it all that much. So, middle of the road.
All right, Jay.
Entertainment, I gave an 8. I've been saying it this entire review. Despite all the problems I have with it, I've always been entertained by this one. It's not my favorite, but I can pop it on. I enjoy this version of One-Liner Freddy. Like I said, he gets way worse as it goes on, but I'm consistently entertained by this, so I gave it an 8.
All right, Kenneth.
I gave it a 7. I mean, it's still entertaining. I mean, there might be a lot of aspects of it that I'm just like, but there are far worse movies out there. And this is one of those that, I do revisit this movie from time to time. So it's definitely, it can be entertaining. So I just gave it a 7. I mean, yeah.
All right. Rewatchability. I gave it a 4. While it is passable for its first time for entertainment, it's not passable enough for a second watch. I don't see me ever going back and watching this movie unless I have to for a podcast or something like that. So 4. Brian?
I gave it a 3 for the very same reason. I will never watch this movie on my own accord. If I gotta watch it for a show or something like that, okay, sure. But the day's never gonna come when hey, you know what? I want to watch Nightmare on Elm Street 4. That's not gonna happen.
Jamie just looks at you and go, and I want a divorce.
No, she agrees.
Well, that hurts my joke.
Yeah. Zero.
Okay. I'm on you, Jay, right? Rewatchability?
Yes.
Go.
Jay. 6 out of 10. Not my favorite, not the worst. So kind of falls in the middle of the road, but better than a 5. So yeah.
Okay.
6.
Kenneth.
I gave it a 7. I mean, like I said, it's one of those that I do go back and revisit from time to time. I mean, there are problems that I have with it, but overall, I can rewatch it because it's it's still kind of it's still a fun movie sometimes. So.
Okay. Well, we move into our last category, pop culture. I have a hard time with the Nightmare pop culture because I don't fully know what you people like about this series. So I try to think, okay, what did I know about this movie before it came on? How much did I know about it? So I gave it a 6 because people do talk about One Line Freddy, which you do get in this movie, and people talk about the stupidity of the dog piss. So because of that, I did some mathematics. I put in a computer. It said it was
Freddy's a dead fuck.
Yeah. you jumped in line on my joke, but yeah, it's a 6. 6 is a dead fuck, apparently. I thought it'd be a 5, but apparently if you can still fuck, you're a 6. So dead fuck. Brian.
While this movie is not my cup of tea, I give this an 8 because Freddy was just a steamroller at this point. Everything was Freddy. Freddy cartoons, Freddy 1-800 numbers, Freddy cereal, Freddy TV shows. I mean, and that has lingered. As I said, I don't like where Freddy was going. I think they were weakening the character, but I don't think there's any... You can't deny the impact he had on pulp culture. And this was, if I remember correctly, the most successful Nightmare on Elm Street movie as far as financially.
It was. I read that. It only got beat by Freddy vs. Jason, which I don't think counts.
No. So it's a powerhouse. I don't necessarily like it, but I can't deny it.
All right. Jay.
I gave it a 7. It's got some things that are stuck around. There's a GIF and memes that go around with Freddy on the beach with his sunglasses on. So that's stuck around. People talk about the stupid dog, like you said. So it's got some things that are stuck around, but it's definitely not the most memorable of the series. I think Freddy's Dead is actually more memorable, even though it's a worse movie, just because of when it came out and whatnot. But again, we'll get to that a little later. So yeah, just 7 out of 10.
All right, Kenneth.
I gave it a 9. And the reason why I gave it a 9 is because, I mean, I'm just going to expand on basically what Brian said. I mean, it's this one right here, between this one and the one before it, this is what really solidified the character of Freddy for what he became. And also, it really solidified him into the culture. It really did. I mean, this is the one that really took Freddy into that MTV I'm everywhere thing. You know, part 3 started it. This is the one that really part 3 lit the fuse. This was the explosion. This is the one that it really, I mean, it just everywhere, you know, and the thing about it is, you know, the dog, the music, I mean, everything. I mean, it was all the MTV Freddy. This is when this movie came out, this is when you start seeing him on talk shows and shit like that. This is when there was the you know, kids were running around in Freddy pajamas. That was this movie. This movie is the one that did it.
All right, fair enough. All right, well, I'm going to go to the scores, but we're not quite done yet because I've got some things I want to point out for the Nightmare movie. But points-wise, I gave it a 92. Kenneth gave it 103. Jay gave it 101. And Brian gave it an 84. So highest goes to Kenneth. Lowest goes to Brian. 2 of us under 100. 2 of us over 100. And that means Friday the 13th Part 4 does win this round because nothing was under. The lowest score for that was 120 points. So
tied up.
Yeah. So now we are tied up. 2 points for Friday the 13th, 2 points for Nightmare on Elm Street. 5 is going to be interesting.
I think so.
So in a dogfight, who wins, Gordon or Jason?
Who is Gordon?
The dog from part 4, from Friday 4, Golden Retriever.
Oh, you're okay. I get it. I was confused because you said Jason. I'm like, who?
Jason would win.
Okay, you mean the dogs?
Yes.
Gordon. Gordon is walking around the woods on his own, like chilling out for 2 days, hanging out, and then he comes back. He's definitely the stronger dog.
I agree. I mean, you just can't kill Gordon. He jumped out a window. He's still alive.
I love Gordon more, but Jason is the dog of Kincaid. Okay?
The dog doesn't have dream powers.
No,
I disagree. I fucking disagree.
And it can only piss fire when it's
Hold up.
Freddy.
I've got that actually brings into me another question. When Kincaid gets pulled into the dream, when Kincaid goes into the dream where his dog pisses Freddy back to life, is that Kincaid's dream or the dog's dream? Does Jason have the power to pull people in, and because he's obviously susceptible to being pulled into the dreams, because he got pulled into the first dream where he bit Heather and she physically had a bite mark, and Kincaid even says, "My dog's like me." Like, that dog's a fucking fighter. But is that Jason's dream or Kincaid's dream where the dog pisses on Freddy? I think it's the dog's.
Freddy's dream.
If it was a dog's dream, I think it would be in black and white, wouldn't
it? But we're seeing it through Kincaid's eyes.
Then it's his dream.
And
then also you got to think, right after Kincaid gets killed, Jason's in the bed with him, like freaking out because he, you know what I'm saying, his master just died.
Well, yeah, because he was in the dream and he got kicked out of the dream once the dude died, right?
Yeah, but then again, Jason didn't see any of the death or anything. I was like, hey, because he ran off into the junkyard when Kincaid was getting killed.
I was just trying to make sense of Freddy coming back by a dog pissing fire onto him.
You can't.
And I was like, well, maybe if it was the dog's dream, but okay. Well, okay.
But to answer your question, I think Jason would whoop Gordon's ass.
No,
I think I'm with you. Jason would whoop Gordon.
In your dreams.
Gordon is a fucking little nice house, white people golden retriever. Jason out here in the hood, all right? He's handling it.
Gordon looks like the fucking behind the white picket fence kind of dog.
Yeah, he ain't never been in a street fight.
No,
Jason been in street fights his whole life.
Living in the woods on his own, while Jason sits in the house.
Yeah, Gordon has turned feral. He's a man
over 2 days.
Yeah,
no, I don't think he's feral. Jason takes he's way more badass.
Jason takes vacations in the streets for a week. He's been doing that his whole life. He's down.
Yeah. And the first sign of trouble, he runs away.
Yeah, he can also piss fire.
Yeah, it's because he's ashamed that he brought Freddy back by pissing on it.
Only in somebody's dream.
All right. So a line I have a problem with is Alice saying, "Ever heard of a Dream Master?" And Kristen's response is, "No, sounds like a game show host." Bitch, you're a dream warrior. Why? Like, why is that something you're not? You're like, no, I'm gonna make fun of you. Shut the fuck up. I love the camera work in the Kristen drugged by her mom scene. I said the Debbie's arm ripped open thing.
You know, one of the biggest things I got a problem with?
What?
My dick.
Now I do. No, at the beginning when they're in the fucking school and Kristen is talking to Kincaid and Joey, and when they all walk off, there's 4 slash marks in the lockers.
Oh, yeah.
I hated that. I fucking hated it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, he hasn't been resurrected yet, and it's there. And I'm just like, what the fuck? And then the bright light. Who the fuck has got all these bright lights? I mean, this ain't Hellraiser with fucking goddamn blue lights shining through the bricks. Bright light coming through. Bullshit. I didn't like it.
Someone at some point, I didn't write down the character, but someone said make a wish. And I think it was Alice. She said make a wish. And I'm like, so can we make Dream Master turn into a Wishmaster sequel? Because I'll sign up for that.
That would be awesome.
that would be either the greatest thing ever or the greatest train wreck to ever hit cinema. Okay, this is a big one. What's up with the whole Nancy's house thing? Because the glove was kept there for the first 2 movies, but in number 3, now it's magically buried with the body. Nancy dies in 3, so why does Nancy's house become Freddy's house? He didn't live there. He didn't get killed there. His glove was just kept there. That's literally the one connection, but in the 3rd movie, it's magically buried with the bones instead of being in the boiler where it is in the first 2 movies.
You're right. From part 3, part 3 it makes sense because you got Nancy coming back. Yeah. But from part 4 on, it makes no damn sense. But it's an icon, and it is iconic. You can instantly recognize it, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be still in these movies. All connections to it have been killed.
Yeah. And my last thing is I want to talk about the difference that I find between Jason doing his standard basic kills where it's, just a throat slit or a stab versus Freddy's standard kills of just stabbing you in the gut, and why I have a problem more with Freddy doing it than Jason doing it. Because it basically comes down, Freddy has the ability to do more in the dreams. He has the ability to do these crazy deaths, to turn his hand into syringes, to do all this kind of shit. And Jason doesn't. Jason has to use what literally is lying around. So a lot of times he doesn't have the ability to do something crazy. He's just got to do what he's got to do. And that's why it bothers me more when Freddy does a standard stab you in the gut kill. I think it is okay, like when Kenneth said when he killed Kincaid in here, he did it with such force, it was impactful, and it worked. But I think they really, if they keep using the stab in the stomach, because I don't know why Freddy has to stab in the stomach. You can stab him in the face, the throat, the dick, anything. You keep stabbing him in the fucking gut. And if they keep doing that, I'm going to have a real problem going forward.
So I have 2 things to say about the house. And this is just me spitballing. I'm not trying to say, no, it's great because this. It's just me coming up with logical reasons why. So in the first movie, Nancy was his biggest competitor, the person who killed him, defeated him, whatever. It was in that house. So as time goes on, he's made that part of his dream world. It has significant meaning to him because it was the place of his first defeat. So he keeps reusing it. That's just the only thing I can really think of. Why he would want to do that, I don't really have a reason. But
you know what? I like that.
That's what I got. As far as the stabbing in the stomach goes, while I agree that being the final end to the kill is kind of boring, most of the time, even when that's how it ends, there's something else going on within the dream that is inventive and entertaining.
Okay.
Not all the time, but most of the time. Okay. For example, even though you guys didn't like it, when he stabs Christian Slater in the stomach, he had this huge invisible karate fight with him. So there was more to it than just him going, "Hi, I'm Freddy, you're dead."
Yeah. And on your house theory, I like your house theory, but I also think that he killed Nancy in part 3. He won. He won that battle. So therefore, in 4, he wouldn't be going back to the house because that's where he lost a battle, and there's shame. He ended up winning the war against Nancy.
Yeah, that's true
God. Too. So that just things as watching as basically first time watches, even though they're really not. I have these questions I have to ask. I have to try to figure it out. But here we are at the end of Horror Coliseum, Freddy vs. Jason, round 4. Jason came out with an easy win. I think everyone knew this was going to be easy win. I know in part 1, a lot of people were shocked that Friday the 13th beat the original Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't know why they're shocked. I assume they just have never actually watched Nightmare on Elm Street and seen how bad it is. Sorry, Jay. Part 2, that one was a real surprise. Real shocker there, with Nightmare 2 coming out on the top over Friday 2. I'm still a little shocked by it. Part 3, Nightmare on Elm Street easily won that one. That was a fucking easy walkthrough. I don't know that many people that love part 3 of Friday. I know Jamie does. I know some people like it because for a lot of them that was the first one they saw.
Yeah.
But that movie's boring as shit.
Yeah.
Everybody can hear how I felt about it.
Yeah. Round 3 was very, very uppity. We got some hyped up moments on that one. And round 4, I think we're all kind of in the same boat for a lot of this, actually, which is kind of surprising. We usually have more confusion going on and more arguing and more debating, and we didn't really have that, but I think it is because we took a movie that is universally loved and then a movie that's kind of middle of the road. It's right before they go off the deep end in terribleness. And it is amazing to me for us to do that. I also want to point out that this director, Rennie Harlin, have y'all ever looked at this dude's filmography?
Yeah, it's all over the place.
Holy shit. Like, he literally does... after A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, they're like, hey, do you want to direct the Andrew Dice Clay movie, The Avengers of Ford Fairlane? Like, and then after that, they're like, okay, Die Hard 2.
Yeah.
I like Die Hard 2, though.
I know.
So do I.
And then they're like, here's Cliffhanger and Cutthroat Island and The Long Kiss Goodbye. And it's just like, holy shit.
So good.
And I like all four of those.
Yeah, and then they're like, here's Deep Blue Sea.
I didn't know he did that.
Yeah, he did Deep Blue Sea, and then he did Exorcist the Beginning and The Covenant. Like, dude just fucking, like...
We should review The Covenant one of these days.
I've never seen it, so
man.
I'm down.
Whoops.
Oh, way to go, Kenneth. Ruin the show.
Oh, damn. I've got The Covenant on Blu-ray, and I was looking at
Me
it.
too.
I don't have it, but I'm sure I can find it.
It's like a $3 Blu-ray. It's not expensive.
That's not a good sign.
It's we should
like,
review that.
That's like my copy of My Soul to Take that I've never watched, but I found it at a Goodwill for $1 on Blu-ray, so I bought it.
Same here.
Fucking terrible.
And all I hear about this movie is it's super bad, except for like Andrew Shorey, who's like, it's super amazing, and I'm like, sit down. No one listens to your opinions. Calm, shut the fuck up. But this actually might be one of our longest horror Coliseums, but there was a lot to fucking dig through, a lot to go through. So Brian, anything you want to pimp out real quick before we get out of here?
Probably just the ABCs of hidden horror. We're up to letter
S just came out. So
S just came out, so yeah. We recorded T, that's in the works of being stitched together and made all pretty, so that's the next one coming. When we finally are done with the alphabet, we might take a little break, but then we're going to come back for season 2, so it's always a good time to check us out. You got me on there, you got my far better half, Jamie, and you got a schmuck named Dave Z who kind of hangs around. We make him get coffee for us.
Yeah, he's from some, like, small podcast, you know.
Something like that.
Yeah. And check out the S episode, because I'm on it, and you want to hear me talk about fucking Suicide Club, because I give a great explanation of what I think that movie means.
You do.
It's a movie you have to watch 200 fucking times to get. So check out that episode. Check out all that. I actually have 2 books that Brian's edited as I dip my feet into the world of Cthulhu and weird fiction.
Nice.
The old timers call it. Especially now that I realize like 2 movies in my top 10 horror movies of all time are directly inspired by Lovecraftian shit.
What 2 would those be?
Obviously, John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yes.
And then Matango. Matango is based off a book by another author that actually God damn it. Cthulhu Maker. What's his name? Your guy.
Lovecraft?
Lovecraft actually wrote a article on how much he loved this author. Which I can't remember his name. So while I was doing research on Matango, I found all that out. And I was like, well, shit, I guess I really need to really step in this world and kind of check it out. So I actually have 2 books that I'm the slowest reader ever, but I pick up every once in a while and do another. They're all short stories, so I just kind of do another short story.
I hope you like them.
I do. The first one I read, the Kenneth, you'll like this. The detective reminded me of the detective from Scarlet Gospels.
Oh, cool.
He had that kind of fucking swagger about him.
Nice.
Oh, Harry Damone or something like that.
Yeah.
Harry Diamore.
That's it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Kenneth is an expert on Harry.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Clive Barker.
Yeah.
Nice.
So with that being said, we will see y'all sometime later. In October. October is kind of a month where we actually don't have a lot of time, which is why we don't do the big Halloween episode. This is your big Halloween episode. We brought Brian M. Sammons in for that, and we did
Yay.
Friday 4. So if you want something more than that, there's 200 other podcasts that are all reviewing either Halloween or Psycho this month. Go to any of them, and they got you.
Yeah, we did Halloween. We did Halloween a long time ago. We're done with Halloween.
Yep, and we talked about how it kind of sucked.
Yeah, we're not the biggest fans of the original Halloween. We give it its credit.
I just watched the entire series to get ready for the new one, even though you only have to watch the first one. And Rob Zombies is still the best.
I'll probably won't even watch the original and then go watch the other one.
I will, just because I just got the 4K of it and I want to see how it looks on my 4K screen, Kenneth.
Oh yeah, you saw how thrilled I was when you showed it to me when I was there.
So
it's like he's like, Kenneth, check this out. I'm like,
yeah. But coming up sometime in October or November, we'll have obviously Horror Coliseum round 5. We have another Jerry Hates action planned where we are doing Top Gun and
I'm so excited for
and
that.
Predator.
Yeah,
Top
Predator.
Gun and Predator. Yeah, Top Gun and Predator.
One of my top 10 movies of all time.
Yeah, why don't you? We saw you shirtless with a volleyball in your hand and a dick in your mouth.
Damn straight, Tom Cruise's dick.
Playing with the boys.
How does
Val Kilmer was
Scientology taste?
absolutely sexy in that movie.
I'd ride his Tomcat.
So Jerry Hates Action episode 2 will drop sometime in the near future. If all goes well, we will actually have Paul from Who Will Survive horror podcast. So that'll be dope. And other than Horror Coliseum, we don't have much planned. We have a Patreon show we're trying to do, but everything keeps happening. We keep not doing it.
I'm
Derek
sorry.
understands. We will also have another underwater kaiju from outer space in October that will record next weekend, I think. So you'll get that, and then you'll probably get Horror Coliseum Volume 5, and then you'll probably get Jerry Hates Action Episode 2.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a fucking mouthful, and y'all know how I feel about having a mouthful. If it ain't Kenneth, get it out. So with that being said, check us out on Facebook. There's, of course, a group. There's also a group for the ABCs of Hidden Horror. You know how to search in Facebook, so I'm not going to give you the links, but the links will be in the description. Other than that, we will see y'all next time. Thank you for joining us. And if you're still mad about how I talk about Heather Langenkamp, I really don't care. Love ya.
Remember
I'm
to
going to go
swallow.
write Jarvis family incest porn.
Wow. Okay. Kenneth, you got a last line to that, or are you just excited?
Horrorporn.com.